The room is quiet, perfectly still, but inside your mind, a storm is raging. The day is over, the world outside has fallen silent, and yet the noise within is deafening. A film is playing on the screen of your consciousness, a film you have seen 1,000 times before. It shows a moment from your past, a word you wish you could take back, an action you regret, a path you didn't choose. Each time it plays, the feelings return, sharp and familiar, the sting of shame, the ache of remorse. You are not being held captive by anyone. You are being held captive by a memory, by a judgment you passed on yourself long ago, a sentence that you continue to serve, night after sleepless night. This is a quiet suffering, a common ailment of our modern lives. We are told to be strong, to be successful, to be perfect, and so we carry our imperfections and our mistakes like a heavy backpack, strapped so tightly to our shoulders that we forget it's even there. But we feel its weight in our exhaustion, in our anxiety, in the tightness in our chest. Each regret is a stone placed carefully inside, a stone of failure, a stone of unkindness, a stone of not being good enough. We walk through our days with this immense, invisible weight, and it drains our energy, colors our present moments with a grey tint of the past, and keeps us from ever feeling truly light, truly free. We have become the wardens of our own invisible prisons, diligently patrolling the walls of our own making, ensuring the prisoner, which is also us, never escapes the past. But what if there was another way? What if peace is not found by building stronger walls, or by fighting harder against the ghosts of yesterday? What if freedom is not about erasing the past, but about changing your relationship to it? There is an ancient path, a quiet wisdom that suggests the way out is not through struggle, but through understanding. A path that invites you not to discard the heavy backpack in a single, violent motion, but to gently set it down, to open it with curiosity, and to look at each stone, not with judgment, but with a profound and healing compassion. This is an invitation to explore that path, an invitation to learn the gentle art of self-forgiveness, to discover that the peace you have been desperately seeking is not somewhere out there, but has been waiting patiently, all this time, within the quiet sanctuary of your own compassionate heart. Let us begin by acknowledging this weight, not as an idea, but as a felt experience, right here, right now. It is the first and most crucial step. Before we can set anything down, we must first truly feel its presence, to know its texture, its temperature, its form within us. This burden we speak of, these unseen chains, are not forged from iron or steel. They are woven from thoughts, from memories, from silent judgments that loop endlessly in the quiet theater of the mind. They have no physical substance, and yet they can feel more solid and more restrictive than any prison wall. It is an anchor cast into the deep waters of the past, holding you in place while the river of life flows on without you. It is a subtle, constant gravitational pull, a downward pressure on your spirit that you have become so accustomed to. You may even mistake it for a part of who you are, but it is not you. It is simply something you are carrying. Can you feel it now, in this moment of stillness? Perhaps it lives in your shoulders, a permanent tension, as if you are bracing for a blow that never comes. Perhaps it resides in your stomach, a knot of anxiety that tightens whenever a certain memory is triggered. It might be a tightness in your jaw, a shallowness in your breath, a persistent weariness behind your eyes that no amount of sleep can seem to erase. These are the physical echoes of the unseen chains. The body, in its profound wisdom, keeps an honest record of our inner state. It holds the stress of our mental battles. The war we wage against ourselves is not a silent one. Its casualties are our peace, our vitality, and our connection to the present moment. This burden is not a passive thing. It is an active, energy-consuming process. It is maintained by a voice inside of us, a voice we have come to call the inner critic. This inner critic is a relentless narrator, a tireless judge who sits in the high court of your mind, reviewing the evidence of your past, day and night. It never rests. Its primary function is to remind you of your failings. It replays your mistakes with perfect clarity, pointing out every flaw, every misstep. Its tone can be scornful, disappointed, or even cruel. It speaks with the authority of truth, and because its voice originates from within, we rarely think to question its verdict. It says, "Remember when you failed, that proves you are a failure." It says, "Remember when you hurt someone, that proves you are a bad person." It takes a single event, a single moment in the vast tapestry of your life, and defines your entire existence by it. This inner critic is not an external enemy. In a strange and misguided way, it believes it is protecting you. It believes that by constantly punishing you for the past, it can prevent you from making the same mistakes in the future. It operates from a place of fear. It wraps you in the chains of yesterday, believing they will keep you safe tomorrow. But the only thing these chains do is prevent you from living today. They drain your energy, sap your creativity, and make you heavy. They make you believe that you are unworthy of peace, that you must carry this penance forever. Recognizing this voice, simply noticing it without immediately believing it, is the first act of liberation. It is the moment you realize that you are not the voice. You are the one who hears the voice. This simple shift in perspective is the beginning of creating space, the beginning of loosening the chains. There is a well-known story in the Zen tradition that illustrates this perfectly. Two monks, one senior and one junior, were on a long journey, walking together in silence. They followed a path that led them to a wide, muddy river. At the riverbank stood a young woman, beautifully dressed, but clearly distressed. She was afraid to cross the river for fear of ruining her fine clothes and being swept away by the current. Without a word, the senior monk walked over to her, lifted her into his arms, carried her across the turbulent water, and set her down gently on the other side. She bowed, and he bowed back, and then he continued on his journey. The two monks walked on. For hours, they continued in silence, but the air was no longer peaceful. The junior monk was agitated. His mind was racing. His face was a mask of disapproval. He replayed the scene at the river again and again. How could a monk, sworn to a life of detachment and celibacy, touch a woman? How could he lift her so brazenly into his arms? It was a clear violation of the rules. He rehearsed the arguments in his head, his indignation growing with every step. Finally, as evening began to approach, he could not contain himself any longer. He burst out, "Brother, why did you do that? We are not supposed to go near women. It is against our vows to touch them. What you did back there was wrong. It was improper." The senior monk looked at his companion, his face calm and his eyes clear. He smiled softly and said, "I left the woman by the river hours ago. Are you still carrying her?" This story is a perfect mirror for our own minds. We are all, in some way, the junior monk. We carry people, we carry events, we carry words and mistakes with us, long after they are over. The event itself might have been brief, like the senior monk carrying the woman across the river, but the mental story we create about the event, the judgment, the replaying, the indignation, the guilt, the shame, we can carry that for miles, for years, for a lifetime. The senior monk put the woman down and was free. The junior monk never touched her, but he was burdened by her for the rest of the day. The weight he felt was not the woman herself, but his own thoughts about her, his own judgments. So, the question for you in this moment is this: what are you still carrying? What woman, what man, what event, what mistake have you been holding in your mind long after you left it by the side of the river? Can you feel the weight of it? Can you see how it is not the past event itself that is causing your suffering now, but your own mental act of carrying it, of refusing to put it down? To see this is not a reason for more self-judgment. It is not another stick to beat yourself with. On the contrary, to see this truly and clearly is a moment of profound grace. It is the first glimmer of light in a dark room. It is the moment a prisoner realizes the door to his cell has been unlocked this whole time. The recognition that you are the one carrying the burden means you are also the one who has the power to set it down. The chains are unseen, yes, but they were forged by you, and they are held in place by you, and therefore only you can let them go. Now that we can feel the weight of these chains and see that we ourselves are the ones choosing to hold them, we must ask the next question. What is it within us that insists on carrying what is no longer there? Why does the mind cling so tightly to these painful burdens? To understand this, we must look not at the chains themselves, but at the nature of the mind that forges them. We must turn our attention inward to the very mechanism of our perception, which in the ancient traditions is often compared to a mirror that has, over time, gathered much dust. To understand why we cling to these heavy chains, we must look at the nature of the mind itself. Imagine for a moment that your mind, in its most fundamental state, is like a perfect mirror. Its nature is not to create or to hold on, but simply to reflect. In its original condition, it is vast, clear, and luminous. It reflects the sky, the trees, the face of a loved one, a passing feeling of joy, a momentary sensation of cold, all without preference, without judgment. It adds nothing, and it takes nothing away. A bird flies past, and the mirror reflects the bird. Once the bird is gone, the mirror does not hold on to its image. It is empty again, ready to reflect whatever comes next. This is the inherent, pristine nature of your awareness. It is pure potential, pure clarity. There is nothing wrong with it. It has never been broken. But what happens over the course of a life? As we move through the world, this mirror encounters dust. An unkind word spoken to you as a child leaves a small smudge. A moment of failure leaves a greasy film. A deep regret, a significant mistake, can feel like a dark, sticky stain splashed right across the center. The voice of the inner critic, which we spoke of earlier, is like a person standing beside you, pointing constantly at these blemishes. Look, it says, see that stain? That is you. That proves you are flawed. Over time, layer upon layer of this dust accumulates. The dust of what others have told us we are. The dust of our own comparisons and expectations. The dust of our triumphs, which creates pride. And the dust of our defeats, which creates shame. After years of this accumulation, we forget the mirror even exists. We look at our reflection and believe that the dust is who we are. We believe we are the smudge of past failures, that we are the stain of old regrets. Our entire self-image becomes a composite of these imperfections. And because we see ourselves through this distorted lens, we see the entire world through it as well. We see new opportunities through the dust of past failures, and so we hesitate. We meet new people through the film of old betrayals, and so we are guarded. We experience the beauty of the present moment, but it is muted, seen through the grey haze of unresolved sorrow. The mirror no longer reflects reality as it is. It reflects a story, a sad, heavy story, a story in which we are the flawed protagonist, forever defined by the dust of our history. We live inside this story, and it becomes our reality, a self-fulfilling prophecy where the dirty mirror only ever shows us a dirty world, confirming our belief that everything, especially ourselves, is inherently flawed. Our natural reaction, when we realize our mind is dirty, is to try and clean it. We fight it. We see a painful thought, a memory of guilt, and we try to scrub it away. We wrestle with our anxiety, trying to force it into submission. We see the dust, and we get angry at it. We try to blow it away with frantic effort. But what happens when you blow on a pile of fine dust? It flies up into the air, creating a chaotic storm, making it impossible to see anything clearly at all. The more we struggle against our own thoughts and feelings, the more turbulent our minds become. The more we hate the stains on our mirror, the more we focus on them, the larger they seem to grow until they eclipse everything else. This struggle, this inner war, is exhausting, and it is ultimately futile. It is born from a misunderstanding of how the mind works. There is another way, a gentler, wiser way. Imagine you have a glass of water, and someone has just poured a handful of mud and sand into it. The water is now completely opaque, a murky brown cloud. You cannot see through it. Your first instinct might be to try and fix it. You might stick your hand in and try to grab the mud, but that only swirls it around more. You might try to pour the water through a cloth, but that is a messy and difficult process. You might shake it vigorously, hoping the mud will somehow separate itself. But all of these actions, all of this striving and effort, only agitates the water further. It only makes the problem worse. The wisdom of Zen offers a radically simple solution. Do nothing. Simply take the glass of muddy water and place it on a stable surface and wait. Do not touch it. Do not interfere with it. Just let it be. And what happens? Slowly, gracefully, something miraculous occurs. The laws of nature take over. The heaviest particles of sand begin to drift downwards. Then the finer particles of silt begin their slow, gentle descent. Gravity does the work for you. Little by little, the particles settle on the bottom of the glass, forming a layer of sediment, and the water above it begins to clear. First, it is translucent. Then, after a time, it becomes almost perfectly transparent again. The mud is still there, at the bottom, but it no longer defines the water. The water has returned to its natural state of clarity. Your mind is this glass of water. The thoughts, the memories, the regrets, the self-judgments, they are the mud and the sand. Your frantic attempts to fight them, to analyze them, to push them away, that is the stirring and the shaking that only makes things worse. The practice of meditation, the practice of sitting in stillness, is the act of placing the glass down. It is the act of allowing the natural process of settling to occur. We are not trying to destroy the thoughts or erase the memories. We are simply creating the conditions for them to settle. We sit and we watch the chaos. We watch the dust motes of memory and anxiety swirl and dance, and we do not interfere. We just watch with patience, with our steady, gentle attention, which is like the force of gravity. The churning begins to slow, the frantic energy subsides. The mud of our obsessive thinking begins to lose its power and drifts to the bottom of our consciousness. The clarity that was always there, underneath the turmoil, begins to re-emerge. This is why we do not need to fight ourselves. The clarity of the mirror is our birthright. The transparency of the water is our natural state. It has never been lost, only obscured. The goal is not to become a perfect person with a perfectly clean mirror, free of all dust. The goal is to realize that you are not the dust, you are the mirror. You are the vast, open, luminous awareness in which the dust appears and settles. When a painful memory arises, you do not have to become that memory. You can see it for what it is, a particle of dust floating in the space of your mind, which, if left alone, will eventually settle. To allow this settling to happen, to truly let the glass of water be still, requires a certain inner attitude. If we are sitting there, glaring at the mud, hating it for being there, we are still agitating the water with our hostility. We need a foundation of kindness. We need to create an inner environment of profound gentleness. We must learn to allow the mud to be mud, to allow the dust to be dust, without judging it as bad or wrong. This radical posture of non-resistance is the key, and this leads us directly to our next step on this journey, which is to learn the gentle art of acceptance. The practice of allowing the dust to settle, of letting the muddy water clear, rests upon a single, profoundly powerful foundation. This foundation is the gentle art of acceptance. Now, this word, acceptance, is often misunderstood in our culture. We tend to associate it with defeat, with resignation, or with weakness. We think to accept a situation means we approve of it, or that we are giving up on changing it. But in the context of inner healing, acceptance is something entirely different. It is not passive resignation. It is an act of supreme courage, clarity, and strength. Acceptance is not saying, "What I did was okay." If you made a mistake that caused harm, acceptance does not mean you now believe that action was good or right. It is not saying, "It doesn't matter." Of course, it matters. The pain you feel is a testament to the fact that it matters. Acceptance is simply the honest and unwavering acknowledgement of reality as it is. It is the moment you stop arguing with what has already happened. The past is the one thing in the universe that is completely and utterly unchangeable. You can spend the rest of your life wishing it were different. You can scream at the sky in protest. You can exhaust yourself fighting a war against history. But the past will not yield. It will not change. Arguing with the past is like standing in the middle of a rainstorm, shouting at the clouds to stop. The clouds will not listen. The rain will continue to fall. And you will be left standing there, soaked, frustrated, and powerless. Acceptance is the wisdom to simply acknowledge, it is raining. Once you acknowledge this, you can put up an umbrella, seek shelter, or decide to dance in it. You regain your power because you are no longer wasting your energy on a fight you cannot win. The majority of our prolonged suffering does not come from the original painful event. It comes from our resistance to it. In Buddhist teachings, this is often described using the metaphor of the two arrows. The first arrow is the actual event, the mistake you made, the hurtful word you said, the failure you experienced. Being struck by this arrow is painful. It is an unavoidable part of human life. No one is immune to the first arrow. But then, we inflict a second arrow upon ourselves. This second arrow is our reaction to the first. It is the thought, "This shouldn't have happened." It is the endless cycle of self-blame. How could I have been so stupid? It is the shame, the guilt, the regret that we add on top of the original pain. The second arrow is our resistance. And unlike the first arrow, the second arrow is optional. We are the ones who shoot it into ourselves, over and over again. Acceptance is the simple, powerful act of refusing to shoot the second arrow. You acknowledge the pain of the first arrow, you tend to the wound, but you do not add more suffering on top of it by fighting a battle against what has already been done. When you cease this internal war, an immense amount of energy is liberated. The energy that was fueling the resistance, the judgment, and the regret is now available for healing, for learning, and for living in the present. This does not mean the memory of the mistake vanishes, or that the pain magically disappears overnight. It means you have created a space of inner peace around the memory. You can look at it without being consumed by it. You can learn from it without being punished by it. When you accept the past, you take away its power to control your present. The mistake becomes a part of your story, not the defining chapter. It becomes a data point, a lesson learned, rather than a life sentence. Let us explore this through the ancient and poignant story of a woman named Kisa Gautami. She was a young mother whose heart was filled with joy by her only son. But one day, tragedy struck, and the little boy fell ill and died. Kisa Gautami was consumed by a grief so powerful that it drove her to denial. She could not accept that her son was gone. Clutching his small, lifeless body, she ran through the streets of her village, from house to house, desperately seeking medicine that could bring him back to life. Some people turned away from her sorrow, others pitied her, but no one had the medicine she sought. She was in a state of absolute resistance to reality. Finally, someone suggested she go to see the Buddha, the enlightened one. She ran to him, laid the body of her son at his feet, and pleaded for the miracle medicine. The Buddha looked at her with infinite compassion. He did not dismiss her grief or tell her to simply accept her loss. Instead, he gave her a task. He said, "There is only one medicine that can help you. I need you to bring me a single mustard seed. But it must be from a house where no one has ever experienced a death, a house that has never known the loss of a child, a spouse, a parent, or a friend." Filled with a surge of hope, Kisa Gautami began her quest. She went to the first house, her heart pounding. "The Buddha has sent me," she said. "I need a mustard seed to save my son. Has death ever visited this home?" The family looked at her with sad eyes. "We will give you all the mustard seeds you want," they said. "But our beloved father died here last year." Kisa Gautami went to the next house, and the next, and the next. The story was the same everywhere. "Our home has known much loss. We lost our youngest daughter to a fever. My husband is gone." She went to the richest houses and the poorest huts, and in every single one, she heard a story of grief, a story of loss. As the day wore on, a profound transformation began to happen within her. Her frantic, personal, isolating grief began to soften. She realized that her pain was not unique. The first arrow of loss had struck every family she met. She was not alone in her suffering. Her heart, once closed tight around her own tragedy, began to open with compassion for the suffering of all beings. As evening fell, she sat down, looked at the lifeless body of her son, and she finally understood. Death was not a punishment inflicted only upon her. It was a universal truth, a part of life itself. In that moment, her fierce resistance dissolved. She accepted the reality of what had happened. She took her son to the burial ground and let him go. The pain of her loss was still there, but the second arrow, the arrow of resistance, of this shouldn't be, had fallen away. She had found the mustard seed of wisdom, not in a house without death, but in the acceptance of its universality. This is the nature of acceptance. It does not erase the pain, but it places it in a larger context. Your mistake, your regret, when viewed in isolation, feels enormous and all-consuming. But when you realize that every human being has made mistakes, that every heart has known regret, the sharp edges of your personal story begin to soften. You are part of a shared human experience. So, how do we begin to practice this? It starts in this very moment. Bring your awareness to your body. Notice any feelings that are present. Is there a tightness, a heaviness, a hollowness? Instead of calling it bad or trying to get rid of it, can you simply name it? Ah, this is regret. This is the feeling of sadness. Just acknowledging it, without adding a story or a judgment, is a powerful act of acceptance. You are allowing reality to be what it is. You are letting the rain be rain. Now that we have taken this first step, accepting that the past happened and that these feelings are present within us now, a new question arises. How do we look directly at those past events, at the person we were when we made those choices, without being completely consumed by the shame or the pain? To do that requires more than just acceptance. It requires a new lens through which to view reality, a lens that reveals the fundamentally fluid and ever-changing nature of all things, including ourselves. This leads us to the profound wisdom of impermanence. Having accepted that the past is unchangeable and that our feelings about it are present within us, we can now bring in a new, transformative lens to look at the nature of that past. This lens is the wisdom of impermanence. In the language of the Buddha, this is called anicca. It is one of the most fundamental truths of existence, and to understand it, even a little, is to find a key that can unlock the heaviest of chains. Impermanence is not a complicated philosophy. It is a simple observation of reality. Look around you. Everything you see is in a state of constant change. A flower blooms, its petals vibrant and full of life, but in time it withers and returns to the earth. The sun rises, arcs across the sky, and sets, giving way to the moon. The seasons turn, from the green shoots of spring to the falling leaves of autumn. Nothing is static, nothing is permanent. The solid mountain before you is slowly being worn down by wind and rain. The chair you are sitting on is slowly decaying. Change is not an occasional event, it is the very pulse of the universe. Everything is a process, a flow, a dance of arising and passing away. Now, let us turn this powerful observation inward. We often treat ourselves as the one exception to this universal law. We think of ourselves as a solid, continuous, and unchanging entity. But is that really true? Consider your body. The cells that make up your skin, your bones, and your organs are constantly dying and being replaced. Scientists say that in about 7 years, almost every cell in your body will be new. The physical person you are today is not the physical person you were 7 years ago. Now, consider your mind. Are your thoughts the same as they were a decade ago, or even 10 minutes ago? Thoughts arise in the mind, stay for a moment, and then vanish, replaced by new ones. The same is true for your feelings. Happiness comes, stays for a while, and then gives way to something else. Sadness visits, and it too eventually passes. Your opinions change, your tastes change, your beliefs evolve. Everything about you, from the microscopic level of your cells to the vast world of your consciousness, is in a state of constant, unrelenting flux. You are not a static noun. You are a dynamic, ever-changing verb. You are not a fixed thing. You are an unfolding process. This is where the profound liberation begins. The person who made the mistake you are holding on to, that person no longer exists. That specific combination of thoughts, emotions, level of understanding, life conditions, and neurochemistry that came together in that moment to produce that action has dissolved. It was a wave that rose from the ocean of existence, and it has now fallen back into it. To continue punishing yourself today for the actions of that past self is like being angry at the river for a rock that it carried past you yesterday. The river has moved on. The rock is further downstream. You are standing on a different bank, looking at a different flow of water. To cling to the mistake is to freeze a single frame of a feature-length film and insist that this one frame represents the entire movie. But it doesn't. Your life is the entire movie, a flowing, changing story with countless scenes, countless frames. The mistake was one of them. It happened. But it is not the whole story. It is not you. When we are caught in guilt, we create a solid identity out of a fleeting event. We say, I am a failure, or I am a bad person. This is a grammatical error of the soul. It would be more accurate to say, I am a person who, at one point in the past, experienced failure, or I am a person who once acted in an unskillful way. Can you feel the difference? The first statement is a life sentence. It is a brand, a permanent identity. The second statement is a description of an event in time. It acknowledges what happened without turning it into a concrete, unchanging definition of who you are right now. By embracing impermanence, you give yourself permission to evolve. You allow for the fact that you have learned, you have grown, and you have changed since that moment. Imagine your true nature. Your basic awareness is like the vast open sky. Your thoughts, feelings, and memories are like clouds. On some days, the sky is filled with dark, heavy, thunderous clouds of guilt and regret. They can block out the sun and make everything seem gloomy. We can get so fixated on these clouds that we forget the sky is even there. We think we are the storm, but the sky is never harmed by the clouds. The clouds are not the sky. They are simply visitors passing through. They arise, they linger, and, with time, the winds of change will inevitably blow them onward, revealing the bright, clear, peaceful sky that was there all along. Your mistake is a cloud. It is not your sky. Your work is not to fight the cloud, but to remember that you are the sky, the vast, accommodating space in which all clouds, dark and light, are allowed to pass. There is another powerful metaphor for this truth. It is often said that you can never step in the same river twice. By the time you pull your foot out and put it back in, new water is flowing over the rocks. The river has changed. But what is often forgotten in this saying is that you have also changed. The person who steps into the river the second time is not the same person who stepped in the first time. You are a moment older. You have new thoughts, new sensations, a new breath in your lungs. The past is a river that has already flowed out to the great ocean. To keep our minds trapped there, replaying events, is to deny the living, breathing reality of the river we are standing in right now. So, let this understanding sink into you. The self you are punishing is a ghost. It is a memory trace, a collection of past causes and conditions that have already dissolved back into the flow of time. Can you look back at a memory of that past self, not as you, but as a previous version of you? Can you look at that person with some distance, perhaps even with some compassion, as you might look at an old photograph of a child who did not know what they were doing? That child is not the adult you are today. That past self is not the person you are right now, breathing in this moment. This realization that everything, including our sense of self, is impermanent and in constant flow, naturally leads us to an even deeper and more profound question. If the self is always changing, if it's not a solid, permanent thing, then what exactly is it? What is this I that we are so determined to judge? Who is the one who feels the guilt? And who is the one that is supposed to do the forgiving? To explore this, we must venture further into the heart of this wisdom, to a concept that can feel radical at first, but holds the ultimate key to freedom. We must begin to investigate the illusion of a solid self. We have walked the path of acceptance, acknowledging the reality of the past. We have looked through the lens of impermanence, seeing that both we and the world are in a state of constant flow. Now, we arrive at a viewpoint that is perhaps the most profound and liberating of all. It is the natural conclusion of impermanence, a truth that can dissolve the very root of self-judgment. This is the wisdom of what is called anatta, or no self. Please do not let the term frighten you. This is not about annihilation or ceasing to exist. It is about discovering a freedom so complete that it transcends our ordinary ideas of who we are. We have already seen that you are not a fixed, solid thing. You are a process. Let us investigate this process more closely. What is this thing you call I or myself? Buddhist psychology suggests that what we think of as a singular self is actually an ever-changing combination of 5 components. We don't need to use the ancient technical terms. We can understand them simply. First, there is the body, our physical form. As we have seen, it is constantly changing, aging, renewing. It is not a permanent, solid self. Second, there are our feelings. These are the raw sensations of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral that arise from contact with the world. A warm breeze is pleasant. A sharp noise is unpleasant. The feeling of your chair is neutral. These feelings arise, they last for a moment, and they vanish. Is a fleeting feeling of pleasure your true self? Is a passing feeling of pain your true self? Of course not. They are just visitors. Third, there are our perceptions. This is how our mind interprets and labels the data from our senses. We see a certain color and shape and perceive tree. We hear a sound and perceive music. These perceptions are also constantly shifting and are deeply subjective. They are not a stable, lasting self. Fourth, there are our mental formations. This is the busiest part of our minds. It includes our thoughts, our ideas, our opinions, our memories, our habits, our intentions, and our moods. This is where the inner critic lives. This is where the stories of guilt and shame are generated. But look closely at this stream of mental activity. Is it not also in constant flux? A thought of regret appears and is replaced by a thought of what to eat for lunch, which is replaced by a memory from childhood. It is a wild, chaotic river. Is this torrent of changing thoughts your permanent self? If you were your thoughts, which thought would you be? The one you had a second ago, or the one you are having now? They are not the same. Fifth, there is consciousness. This is the fundamental faculty of knowing, the basic awareness that experiences all the other components. It is the light that illuminates the body, the feelings, the perceptions, and the thoughts. It is the screen upon which the movie of your life is projected. What we call I, or self, is simply the temporary coming together of these 5 changing processes. There is no little person, no permanent CEO sitting in a control room in your head, directing the show. The show is directing itself. The self is not an entity, it is an event. It is the dynamic, interdependent dance of these 5 elements. There is a famous ancient text that illustrates this with the metaphor of a chariot. A king asks a wise monk, "What is this thing you call a chariot?" The monk asks the king, "Your Majesty, is the pole the chariot?" "No," says the king. "Are the wheels the chariot? Or number? Is the axle the chariot? Or the reins? Or the frame?" "No," the king replies to each question. The monk then says, "Then, is the chariot something other than these parts?" The king has to admit that it is not. The monk concludes, "Your Majesty, chariot is just a convenient name, a label we use for the collection of these parts when they are assembled in a certain way. It has no independent existence apart from its components." Let's use a modern car. What is a car? Is it the engine, the tires, the steering wheel, the metal body, number? Car is the name we give to the functioning assembly of all these parts. The moment you disassemble it, the car vanishes, even though all the parts are still there. The same is true for yourself. I is just a convenient label for the functioning assembly of your body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. There is no separate, solid I to be found. It's a useful convention for navigating the world, but when we cling to it as a real, permanent entity, it becomes the source of our deepest suffering. Now, let us apply this directly to the problem of self-forgiveness. When you say, "I am guilty," we must ask the question, who is this I that is guilty? Let us investigate. Is your body guilty? That seems absurd. Is a passing feeling of sadness guilty? No, a feeling is just a feeling. Is a perception guilty? Number. Is consciousness itself guilty? No, it is just clear awareness. So, what is left? The only thing that can be guilty is a thought, a mental formation. The guilty self that you have been punishing for years is nothing more than a combination of a memory, which is a thought, and a painful emotion, which is a feeling. It is a weather pattern in your mind. It is not a solid, enduring entity. It is not you. This changes everything. The entire project of self-punishment is based on the mistaken identity of a permanent, guilty self. We create a statue of our past mistake, label it me, and then spend our lives chained to its pedestal. The wisdom of anatta, of no self, reveals that this statue is a phantom. It is a mental creation. Forgiveness, then, takes on a new meaning. It is no longer about a good self that exists today, trying to pardon a bad self that existed in the past. That is still playing the game of solid selves. True, deep forgiveness is the act of seeing through this illusion altogether. It is the realization that there is no permanent, guilty self to forgive. There is only the flowing, changing process of life. There are actions, and there are consequences. There are memories and feelings. But there is no fixed criminal to be endlessly prosecuted in the courtroom of your mind. To forgive yourself is to stop creating the guilty self with your thoughts right now. It is to let the memory be a memory, the feeling be a feeling, and to rest in the awareness that you are the spacious sky, not the passing storm cloud. When you truly begin to grasp this, the chains don't just loosen, they dissolve into thin air. They dissolve because there is nothing for them to bind. The entire foundation of chronic guilt, this idea of an essential, flawed self, collapses. It is an immense relief. It is a profound homecoming to the truth of your fluid, open, and fundamentally innocent nature. This intellectual understanding is a powerful key. The wisdom of impermanence and no self cuts the very root of our clinging. But wisdom alone is sometimes not enough to heal the lingering wounds of the heart. The illusion may be gone, but the memory of the pain it caused can remain, like a phantom limb that still aches. The mind may understand, but the heart needs to be nurtured. Wisdom must be balanced with love. And so, having seen the truth that sets us free, we must now learn how to apply the balm that makes us whole. This brings us to the essential practice of cultivating kindness, a warmth directed first and foremost toward ourselves. We must now learn to plant the seed of loving kindness. We have journeyed through the mind, seeing the unseen chains we carry and the dusty mirror of our perception. We have taken refuge in the wisdom of acceptance, embraced the profound truth of impermanence, and seen through the illusion of a solid, unchanging self. This path of wisdom has cleared the ground, showing us that the foundation of our long-held guilt is built on a misunderstanding of reality. The mind can now begin to comprehend its freedom. But the heart, which has been wounded by years of self-criticism, needs more than just intellectual understanding. It needs a balm, it needs warmth, it needs love. This brings us to the practice of metta, a word from the ancient Pali language that translates as loving kindness. Metta is the active cultivation of a gentle, unconditional, and benevolent goodwill towards ourselves and all living beings. But before we go any further, it is crucial to understand what metta is not. It is not romantic love. It is not sentimental or sappy emotion. It is not a denial of difficulty or pain. It is not self-indulgence or an exercise in narcissism. And most importantly, it is not something you have to force yourself to feel. You cannot command your heart to suddenly feel love, especially when it has been conditioned for self-criticism. Instead, think of metta as a quiet intention, a sincere wish. It is like planting a seed. You cannot force a seed to grow, but you can create the ideal conditions for it to sprout. You can provide it with good soil, with water, with warmth, and with light. Metta is the practice of creating these warm, nurturing conditions within your own heart. It is the gentle, steady intention for well-being. Imagine the sun. The sun does not decide who is worthy of its warmth. It shines on the beautiful flower and the broken stone, on the saint and the sinner, on the successes and the failures. It shines without judgment, without preference. Metta is the practice of generating this kind of inner sunshine, a warmth that you can learn to radiate inwardly towards yourself. In almost every tradition that teaches this practice, the instruction is always the same. You must begin with yourself. This is not a selfish act. It is a necessary one. A popular analogy is the safety instruction on an airplane. In an emergency, you are told to put on your own oxygen mask before attempting to help others. Why? Because if you run out of oxygen, you will be of no use to anyone. Loving kindness works in exactly the same way. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot offer genuine, sustainable kindness to others if your own inner world is a barren desert of self-rejection. For years, perhaps a lifetime, your inner landscape has been in a state of drought or even a state of civil war, with the inner critic constantly attacking other parts of yourself. To begin by wishing yourself well, is to call a truce in this war. It is the first act of diplomacy with yourself. It is the first drop of rain on dry, cracked earth. By filling your own reservoir with kindness, you will eventually have so much that it naturally overflows to others. For many of us, this is the most difficult step. The moment we try to offer ourselves a phrase of kindness, a powerful resistance can arise. A voice in the mind might immediately say, "This is ridiculous. I don't deserve this. How can I wish myself well when I know all the terrible things I've done? This feels fake. It's a lie." If this happens, know that it is completely and utterly normal. This is the voice of your deeply conditioned inner critic. It is the habit of a lifetime. Do not try to fight this voice. Do not get into an argument with it. That is just another form of inner conflict. Instead, simply acknowledge it with a gentle curiosity. Ah, there is the voice of doubt. There is the feeling of unworthiness. And then, we can employ a skillful shift in perspective. If you feel you cannot offer kindness to yourself as a whole, then offer it to the part of you that is suffering. Can you wish well for the part of you that feels exhausted from this constant inner battle? Can you offer a gentle wish of peace to the part of your heart that aches with the pain of regret? You are not saying you are a perfect person. You are simply acknowledging that there is a being here who is in pain, and that being is worthy of some gentleness. This is the work of the gardener. When a gardener finds a patch of ground that is hard, rocky, and full of weeds, they do not yell at the soil or curse it for being difficult. They understand that it needs patient cultivation. They begin by gently removing the largest rocks, one by one. These rocks are our oldest, hardest beliefs about our own unworthiness. They gently pull up the weeds of self-critical thoughts. And then, they patiently begin to work with the soil, adding nutrients, adding water. The phrases of Metta are these nutrients. Each time you repeat a phrase, you are adding a drop of nourishment to the hardened soil of your own heart. At first, it may seem like nothing is happening, but with persistence, with a gentle and steady intention, the soil will begin to soften. It will become fertile ground where something new can grow. So now, let us begin this practice. Find a posture that allows you to be both relaxed and alert. You can be sitting or lying down. Allow your eyes to gently close. Bring your attention first to your breath. Don't try to change it or control it. Just feel the simple, natural rhythm of the air entering your body and the air leaving your body. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest or your abdomen. This breath is your anchor, a constant, faithful companion. It is a sign that you are alive. Rest in this simple sensation for a few moments. Now, let us try to find the seed of kindness. See if you can bring to mind a being for whom it is very easy to feel warmth and affection. This could be a beloved pet, a child, a mentor, or a dear friend. Picture them in your mind's eye. Remember what it feels like to be in their presence. Allow the natural feeling of warmth, of uncomplicated affection, to arise in your heart. You are not creating this feeling. You are simply remembering it. Let this warmth gather in the center of your chest. This is the feeling tone of Metta. Now, gently let go of that image, but try to keep the feeling of warmth. And we will now redirect that warmth, that gentle energy, towards ourselves. We will use a few traditional phrases to guide our intention. As you say them silently to yourself, try to connect not just with the words, but with the sincere wish behind them. The first phrase is, "May I be safe." Silently, gently, repeat this phrase to yourself, "May I be safe." What does this mean? It means, may I be safe from outer harm, from danger and accident. But more deeply, it means, may I be safe from my own inner critic. May I be safe from the relentless attacks of self-judgment. May I be safe from the prison of my own guilt. It is a wish to create an inner sanctuary, a place of refuge within your own heart, a place where you are protected, and secure. Breathe in and silently say, "May I be safe." Breathe out and let the wish radiate through your being. The second phrase is, "May I be healthy." Repeat this phrase with a gentle intention. May I be healthy. This wish encompasses health in its fullest sense. Yes, may my body be healthy and strong, free from sickness and pain, but also may my mind be healthy. May my heart be healthy. It is a wish for emotional and psychological well-being. A wish for a mind that is not at war with itself. A wish for the resilience to heal from old wounds and the strength to face life's challenges. Breathe in, "May I be healthy." Breathe out and offer this profound wish for wholeness to yourself. The third phrase is, "May I be happy." Silently, gently, offer this to yourself. May I be happy. Let us be clear about this happiness. It is not the fleeting excitement that comes from getting what you want. It is a deeper, more authentic happiness. The genuine well-being that arises from a heart at peace. It is the quiet joy of self-acceptance. The contentment that is not dependent on external conditions. It is your birthright to be happy in this way. You are wishing for your own deepest good. Breathe in, "May I be happy." Breathe out and let the feeling of gentle contentment touch you. The final phrase is, "May I live with ease." Repeat this phrase, letting its gentleness permeate you. May I live with ease. This is a beautiful and profound wish. It is a wish to be free from the constant striving, the inner struggle, the feeling that you always need to be doing more, being more. It is a wish for a sense of grace, the ability to move through your life with all its ups and downs, with less friction, less resistance. Ease does not mean an absence of difficulty. It means meeting difficulty with a soft heart and a spacious mind. It is the wish for a life lived in harmony with yourself. Breathe in, "May I live with ease." Breathe out and feel the tension in your body and mind begin to soften, even just a little. Now, continue for a few minutes, silently cycling through these phrases at your own pace. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. If your mind wanders, and it will, that is not a problem. It is simply what minds do. When you notice it has wandered, gently, without any judgment, just acknowledge it and kindly guide it back to the phrases. The act of returning, again and again, with kindness, is the practice. If feelings of resistance or unworthiness arise, you can even offer the phrases to that feeling. May this feeling of unworthiness be safe. May this part of me that is hurting be at ease. You are wrapping your own inner pain in the warmth of your attention. Now, let go of the phrases. For a moment, just sit with whatever feeling is present. Imagine a warm, golden light in the center of your chest, the light of your own goodwill. With each breath, imagine this light expanding, getting brighter and warmer. Imagine it filling your entire chest, then flowing down into your abdomen, down your legs to your feet. Imagine it flowing up into your shoulders, down your arms to your hands. Imagine it flowing up into your neck and your head, filling every single cell of your body with this gentle, unconditional, loving kindness. You are bathing yourself in your own warmth. There is nothing you need to do to deserve this. It is yours to generate, simply because you are a living, breathing being who desires, at the deepest level, to be happy and free from suffering. This practice is not meant to be confined to a cushion. It is a tool you can carry with you throughout your day. When you notice the inner critic starting its familiar attack, you can pause, take a single breath, and silently offer yourself one of these phrases. May I be safe. It is a powerful pattern interrupt. It is a small act of rebellion against the tyranny of self-hatred. Please be patient with this process. You are softening a lifetime of conditioning. It is like melting a glacier with a candle. It happens one drop at a time. Some days, the practice will feel warm and wonderful. Other days, it will feel mechanical and dry. Both are perfectly fine. The intention is what matters. You are showing up for yourself. You are tending to the soil of your own heart. And if you continue, patiently and persistently, that soil will soften, the seeds will sprout, and you will begin to cultivate an inner landscape of warmth and acceptance that can hold whatever arises. This practice of metta creates the foundational wellness, the inner resilience, the fundamental state of friendship with oneself. It is the preventative medicine that keeps the heart from hardening. But what about when we are not just dealing with the general hardness of the soil, but with a specific, raw wound? What happens when a memory of a past mistake arises with such force that it feels like a fresh injury? For these moments, we need to add another quality to our heart's repertoire. We need to cultivate the courage to turn towards the pain and sit with it directly. This quality is compassion, and it is the next step on our healing journey. If loving kindness, or metta, is the sun that warms the entire landscape of our being, then compassion, or karuna, is the focused, gentle rain that falls on a specific, thirsty plant. Metta is the broad, foundational wish for ourselves to be happy. Karuna is the heart's tender, immediate response when it recognizes that we are not happy, that we are in pain. It is the active desire to see suffering, our own or another's, come to an end. It is vital to distinguish true compassion from its near enemy, pity. Pity looks down from a position of superiority. When we pity someone, we create distance. We see their suffering as something separate from us, something unfortunate that we are glad we don't have. Self-pity works in the same way. It casts us as a helpless victim, reinforcing a story of powerlessness and keeping us stuck in our suffering. Compassion, on the other hand, is an act of connection. It is built on the recognition of shared experience. It meets suffering on level ground, with the simple and powerful message, I am with you. It does not create distance, it closes it. When we offer ourselves compassion, we are not saying, oh you poor, pathetic thing. We are saying, with strength and dignity, I see that you are hurting. I will stay here with you. We will get through this together. This practice requires immense courage. It is, in many ways, the opposite of our most deeply ingrained conditioning. When we encounter pain, our instinct is to do one of three things. We fight it, we flee from it, or we freeze. We fight by getting angry at ourselves, berating our past actions. We flee by distracting ourselves with work, entertainment, food, or any number of addictions. We freeze by becoming numb, dissociating from our feelings and our bodies. The path of compassion offers a fourth, revolutionary alternative: to stay, to turn towards the pain, to be present with it, and to meet it with kindness. This is an act of true bravery. It is the moment you decide to stop being a fugitive from your own heart. Let us now engage in this courageous practice. I invite you to bring to mind a situation in your life that still causes you some pain or regret. Please, choose something manageable. Do not start with the most traumatic event of your life. Choose a memory that carries a moderate emotional charge, perhaps a time you were unkind, a promise you broke, or an opportunity you missed due to fear. A memory that, when you think of it, creates a familiar ache of guilt or shame. Once you have this situation gently in mind, let go of the story. Let go of the details of who said what, of the narrative you have replayed 1,000 times. Instead, turn your attention inward to your own body. Where does this feeling live inside you? Scan your body with a kind awareness. Do you feel a tightness in your throat, as if words are stuck there? Do you feel a heavy weight in your chest, a pressure around your heart? Is there a hollow, sinking feeling in your stomach? Or perhaps a tense clenching in your jaw or your fists? There is no right or wrong answer. Simply notice, with gentle curiosity, where the physical echo of this emotional pain resides. Now that you have located the sensation, we will practice being with it, using our compassion as a guide. The first step is to simply acknowledge it. Without judgment, without trying to change it, just recognize its presence. You can say to yourself silently, "Ah, this is here. This is the feeling of regret. This is what shame feels like in the body." This simple act of naming creates a little bit of space. You are no longer completely merged with the feeling. You are the one who is aware of the feeling. The second step is to allow it. Give the sensation permission to be there, just for a little while. Stop fighting it. Stop trying to push it away. You can mentally whisper to the feeling, "You can be here. I will make space for you." This is a radical act of inner hospitality. You are signaling to the wounded parts of yourself that they are no longer exiled. They are welcome to come out of the shadows. The third step is to investigate with kindness. Bring a gentle, friendly curiosity to the physical sensation. You are not analyzing it to figure it out. You are feeling it to be with it. Is the sensation hot or cold? Is it vibrating, or is it still? Is it sharp and stabbing, or is it a dull ache? Does it have a clear boundary, or does its edges fade into the rest of your body? Again, there are no right answers. The point is to stay present with the raw, physical truth of the feeling, moment by moment. This keeps you anchored in the present, preventing the mind from getting hijacked by the old, looping story of the past. The fourth and final step is to nurture. This is where compassion becomes an active verb. Begin to direct your breath towards the physical sensation. Imagine that with every in-breath, you are sending a current of warmth, gentleness, and soothing energy directly into that tight or painful spot. Imagine the breath is like a healing balm. With every out-breath, imagine the sensation softening, releasing, dissolving, even just 1%. You can also place a hand on the part of your body where you feel the sensation most strongly. Let the simple, physical warmth of your hand be a non-verbal message of care. Let it say, "I am here. I feel this. I am with you." You can also offer yourself quiet phrases of compassion. Not, "It's okay that you did that," but rather, "It's okay to feel this." Other phrases might be, "May this suffering be eased. I am so sorry this hurts so much." Or simply, "I am here. I am not leaving." There is a powerful story that illustrates this principle. A rival of the Buddha, wanting to destroy him, got an elephant named Nalagiri drunk on alcohol, turning it into a raging, murderous beast. He then unleashed it onto the narrow street where the Buddha was walking. As the elephant charged, screaming and destroying everything in its path, people panicked, running for their lives. The Buddha's own attendant urged him to run, but the Buddha stood his ground. He did not prepare to fight. He did not run away. He simply stood still and looked at the charging, enraged elephant. And from his heart, he radiated a powerful, unwavering field of pure, loving kindness and compassion. He saw not a monster, but a being in a state of profound suffering, confused and maddened by poison. As the elephant entered this palpable field of unconditional kindness, something remarkable happened. Its frantic pace began to slow. Its enraged trumpeting softened. The aggression drained away from its body. It came to a halt before the Buddha, and in a gesture of complete surrender, it knelt down. The Buddha reached out and gently stroked its forehead. The unstoppable rage had been completely tamed, not by a greater force, but by a greater love. This raging elephant is a perfect metaphor for our own most painful emotions, our deepest shame, our most terrifying guilt, our hottest rage. Our instinct is to flee in terror, or to try and fight it with the weapons of self-criticism. The Buddha shows us the third way, the way of compassion, to stand our ground, to turn towards the charging beast within, and to meet it with a steady, kind, and courageous heart. When we can look at our own inner demons, and see not monsters to be slain, but suffering beings to be soothed, their power over us dissolves. They cease to be our enemies. They become wounded parts of ourselves, crying out for our care. This is the transformative power of karuna, of compassion. It turns the battlefield of the mind into a healing sanctuary. It does not eliminate pain from life, but it radically changes our relationship to it. The pain is no longer a sign that something is wrong with us. It is a signal, an invitation to bring ourselves the very medicine we need, the soothing balm of our own presence, our own kindness, our own courageous and compassionate heart. We have now explored the sunshine of metta, which warms our entire being, and the gentle rain of karuna, the focused medicine we apply to our specific wounds. We are building a complete inner pharmacy, learning to be our own best healer. But even as we practice these things, we may still hear the persistent whisper of that old, familiar voice, the inner critic, telling us we are not worthy, that we are failing even at this. Our next task, then, is to turn the lens of compassion onto this voice itself. We must learn not to silence it, but to finally befriend it. We have cultivated the warmth of loving kindness, and we have practiced the courage of compassion, learning to sit with our own pain. With these tools in hand, we are now ready to face one of the most persistent and challenging figures in our inner world, the inner critic. This is the voice that has been narrating our failures, the judge who has been handing down our sentences, the warden who has been rattling the keys to our invisible prison. For most of our lives, we have had an adversarial relationship with this voice. We have feared it, we have believed it, and we have fought against it, all to no avail. The path to freedom, however, does not lie in finally defeating this critic in battle. It lies in an act of radical compassion, befriending it. To begin this process, we must first fundamentally reevaluate who or what the critic is. We are accustomed to seeing it as a malicious enemy, a cruel saboteur bent on our destruction. But what if this is a profound misunderstanding? What if the critic is not a villain, but a misguided guardian? Imagine for a moment that the critic's primary, original intention is not to harm you, but to protect you. Its methods are harsh, its words are painful, but its underlying motivation comes from a place of deep fear. The fear that you will be hurt again, rejected again, or that you will fail again. It believes that by constantly reminding you of your past mistakes, by keeping you small and cautious, it can prevent you from experiencing future pain. It operates on a simple, flawed logic. If I punish myself harshly enough for this mistake, I will never, ever make it again. It is trying to keep you safe, using the only tools it has: shame, blame, and fear. Consider this parable. A parent deeply loves their young child. The parent's greatest fear is that the child will run into a busy street and be killed. One day, the child, chasing a ball, darts towards the road. The parent, in a surge of terror, screams, "Get back here, you idiot. What is wrong with you? Do you want to die?" The child, terrified, runs back to the parent. Now, let us analyze this. Was the parent's action effective in the short term? Yes, the child is safe. What was the parent's intention? Love. A fierce, desperate love that wanted to protect the child from harm. But what was the message the child received? The child did not hear, "I am so loved, and my parent wants me to be safe." The child heard, "I am an idiot. There is something wrong with me." The parent's protective intention was delivered through the harmful strategy of shaming and verbal abuse, leaving a lasting wound on the child's sense of self-worth. Your inner critic is this terrified, screaming parent. It is a primitive part of your psyche, born from past hurts and fears, that is using outdated and harmful strategies in a misguided attempt to keep you safe. To fight with this critic is to fight with this terrified inner parent, which only creates more conflict and reinforces its belief that the world is a dangerous place, requiring its harsh vigilance. To befriend the critic is to learn to speak to the terrified parent behind the screaming voice. It is to learn to separate its positive intention from its negative strategy. This befriending is a practice, a form of inner dialogue that unfolds in steps. The first step is simply to notice and name. As you go about your life, you must become a mindful observer of your own thoughts. When you hear that familiar litany of self-blame, that was so stupid, you always mess things up. You're not good enough. The practice is to pause and gently note, the critic is speaking now. This simple act is revolutionary. It creates a space between you and the voice. You are not the critical thought, you are the spacious awareness that hears the thought. In that space lies your freedom. The second step is to listen without believing. Instead of either immediately accepting the critic's verdict as absolute truth or launching into a defensive counter-argument, try to listen with a kind of detached curiosity. Like a scientist studying a strange phenomenon, what are the exact words it is using? What is its tone? Is it angry, scared, disappointed? And most importantly, what is the fear that lies beneath the words? If the critic is yelling about a potential failure, listen for the deeper fear, the fear of humiliation, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of not being worthy of love. You are listening not for the surface-level insults, but for the vulnerable, trembling heart of the scared parent. The third step, and this is the most transformative, is to acknowledge and validate the intention. Once you have a sense of the fear behind the words, you can turn towards the critic with compassion. Instead of fighting it, you will disarm it with kindness. You can say to it internally, "Thank you, I hear you. Thank you for trying so hard to protect me. I can feel how scared you are that I will get hurt, and I appreciate you looking out for me." Imagine saying this to the screaming parent in our story. It would be utterly disarming. You are not agreeing with the insults. You are speaking directly to the loving intention hidden beneath them. You are validating the fear, not the strategy. The fourth step is to gently reassure and take over. After you have validated the critic's protective intention, you can then assert your new, wiser perspective. You can say, "I understand your concern, but I have this handled now. I am no longer a helpless child. I am learning to guide myself with compassion and wisdom, not with fear. You have worked so hard for so long, but your job is done. You can rest now." You are stepping into the role of the capable, compassionate adult. You are reparenting yourself. You are reassuring the terrified part of your psyche that a new, more skillful leader is now in charge. The leader who is guided by loving kindness and a clear-seeing heart. Let us imagine this as a guided reflection. Take a moment to recall a common criticism your inner critic levels against you. Perhaps it's about your appearance, your intelligence, or your social skills. Hear the familiar words. Feel the familiar sting. Now, instead of believing it or fighting it, just notice it. There is the voice of the critic. Now, get curious. What is it afraid of? If it's criticizing your appearance, perhaps it's afraid of rejection. If it's criticizing your intelligence, perhaps it's afraid of being seen as a fraud. See if you can sense the fear underneath. Now, turn towards that fearful part of you. In your mind, offer it thanks. Thank you for being so vigilant in trying to protect me from rejection. I know that's all you've ever wanted. Feel the sincerity in this gratitude. Finally, offer it reassurance. I know you're scared, but I am an adult now. I am learning to find my worth within myself, not in the approval of others. I will navigate this situation with kindness. You don't have to scream anymore. You can be at peace. Each time you engage in this inner dialogue, you are performing a profound act of neural repatterning. You are weakening the old, automatic pathway of self-attack, and you are building and strengthening a new neural pathway of self-compassion. Over time, as you practice this, something remarkable will happen. the critic's voice will begin to lose its power. It may become quieter, less frequent, and a new voice will begin to emerge in its place. This is the voice of your inner compassionate guide, your inner wise mentor. This voice does not need to scream because it does not operate from fear. It is the voice of your own innate wisdom, the voice of the calm adult who can now parent your inner world with love. By befriending the inner critic, we have effectively changed the entire dynamic of our inner court. The prosecutor has been revealed to be a misguided defender. The judge has been met with compassion. The sentence of endless punishment has been commuted. This creates the space for us to move beyond simply stopping the punishment and into the creative and empowering act of consciously reframing our past. We are now free to pick up the pen ourselves and write a new, more truthful story about who we are and what we have learned. Having learned to meet our inner world with the warmth of loving kindness and the courage of compassion, and having begun the delicate process of befriending our inner critic, we can now undertake a truly creative and empowering act. We can become the conscious authors of our own life story. We are, each of us, narrative creatures. We do not simply live through a series of random events. We instinctively weave these events into a coherent story to make sense of who we are, where we have been, and where we are going. This storytelling process is the very foundation of our identity. The crucial point is this: the story we tell ourselves about our past directly determines the emotions we feel in the present. For most of us, this storytelling process has been hijacked. The lead author of our inner biography has been the inner critic, and the critic is not interested in writing a story of growth, learning, or resilience. The critic is a specialist in the genre of tragedy and true crime. In this version of your life, the one that has been playing on a loop in your mind, you are cast as the flawed protagonist, or perhaps even the villain. The plot centers around your mistakes. The climax of every chapter is a moment of failure or transgression. And the moral of the story, repeated again and again, is that you are fundamentally broken, unworthy, or bad. This story is a prison. It offers no possibility of parole, no path for redemption. It is a closed loop that begins with a mistake and ends with a life sentence of guilt and shame. We become internal detectives, constantly revisiting the crime scene of our past, gathering more evidence, strengthening the case against ourselves, ensuring the verdict of our own guilt is upheld. The practice of rewriting your story is not about denial. It is not about pretending the past didn't happen or lying to yourself. The facts of the event remain the same. What we change, profoundly and powerfully, is the meaning we assign to those facts. We are stepping into the author's chair and consciously choosing to write a new draft, a story not of judgment, but of wisdom, a story not of a sinner, but of a student. Let us look at how we can do this. First, we must change the protagonist. In the old story, the protagonist was bad me. In the new story, the protagonist is learning me. This is a character on a journey, a human being doing the best they could with the level of awareness, understanding, and emotional maturity they possessed at that specific time. The you who made the mistake was an earlier version of this learning protagonist, a version with less data, less life experience, perhaps more fear and confusion. To see yourself as a learner, rather than a criminal, is to open the door to compassion and understanding. Next, we must change the plot. The old plot was the story of a terrible mistake. The new plot is the story of a powerful lesson. The painful event is no longer the tragic ending of a chapter. It becomes the inciting incident, the catalyst that sparked a new chapter of growth. The pain of the event becomes an initiation. It was the harsh but necessary teacher that led you toward a deeper understanding of life. You are reframing the mistake from a point of failure to a point of education. Finally, We must change the moral of the story. The old moral was, I am broken. The new moral is, I learned. And here, you must fill in the blank. This requires deep, honest reflection. Ask yourself, what did that painful experience truly teach me? Did it teach me the importance of honesty? Did it teach me about the consequences of my words? Did it teach me humility, forcing me to confront my own arrogance? Did it make me more empathetic to the pain of others, because I now know what it feels like to suffer in that way? Did it make me stronger, more resilient, more determined to live with greater integrity? A mistake that is simply regretted is a wasted resource. A mistake that is mined for its lessons becomes a source of profound wisdom. You are not defined by the fall. You are defined by how you learn to get up. Consider the powerful story of a man named Angulimala from the time of the Buddha. He was a terrifying figure, a serial killer who roamed the forests, murdering travelers and collecting one of their fingers as a trophy. He wore a gruesome garland, a mala, made of these fingers, or anguli, hence his name. He was trapped in the darkest possible story, a story where he was a monster, a predator, a bringer of death. This was his identity. One day, the Buddha walked into his forest. Angulimala saw him and thought, here is another victim for my garland. He began to chase the Buddha, but a strange thing happened. Though the Buddha was walking calmly, Angulimala, running with all his might, could not catch him. Exhausted and confused, he yelled out, "Stop, monk!" The Buddha, still walking, replied, "I have stopped, Angulimala. It is you who have not." This cryptic phrase struck Angulimala to the core. The Buddha explained, "I have stopped causing harm to living beings. You have not." In that moment, the Buddha's immense compassion cut through Angulimala's monstrous identity. For the first time, someone saw not a killer, but a suffering human being with the potential for change. This encounter shattered Angulimala's old story. He threw down his weapons, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and asked to become a monk. His story was radically rewritten, but the past did not simply vanish. When he would go into the villages for alms, people who recognized him would scream in terror. They would throw stones and sticks at him, shouting "murderer." He would often return to the monastery bleeding and bruised. The other monks would see this and be concerned, but the Buddha would say to him, "Bear it, Angulimala, bear it. You are experiencing in this very life the immediate results of actions that could have caused you to suffer in hell for centuries." Angulimala understood. He did not deny his past. He accepted the consequences with a peaceful heart. He was no longer the author of those actions. He was a different person now, a person of peace. And through his dedicated practice, he did not just become a good monk. He eventually became an arahant, a fully enlightened being, completely free from suffering. His story was transformed from the mass murderer to the enlightened saint. This story is extreme, but its principle is universal. It shows that no past is so dark that it cannot be redeemed by a change in the present. No story is so fixed that it cannot be rewritten. If Angulimala can transform the story of 100 murders into a story of enlightenment, then surely we can transform our stories of smaller regrets, of unkind words, of failures in business or love, into stories of learning, wisdom, and compassion. Take a moment now. Bring to mind the mistake that has been your burden. See the old, familiar story you have told about it. Now, see if you can begin to write a new draft. Cast yourself as the learner. Reframe the event as a difficult but necessary lesson, and identify, with clarity and honesty, the moral of this new story. What precious wisdom did you extract from that painful fire? This new story is not an excuse. It is an integration. It is the act of taking the most difficult parts of your past and weaving them into the fabric of a wiser, more compassionate present self. This mental and emotional rewriting is a crucial step. It changes the entire landscape of your mind. But sometimes, even when the mind has accepted a new story, the body still holds the memory of the old one. The narrative of guilt can leave a physical residue, a tension stored in the muscles, a pattern of stress held in the nervous system. The next step in our journey, then, is to help the body catch up with the mind's newfound freedom. We must learn how to release the guilt that is held not just in our story, but in our very cells. Having rewritten the story of our past in the landscape of the mind, we now turn our attention to the physical vessel that has carried this story for so long, our body. The mind and body are not two separate entities. They are a deeply interwoven, inseparable whole. Every thought, every emotion, every belief you have ever had has sent a corresponding ripple through your nervous system, leaving an imprint on your physical form. Your body is a living archive of your joy, your sorrow, your love, and your fear. It remembers everything. When you experience a moment of shame or deep regret, it is not just a mental event. Your brain releases stress hormones, your heart rate might increase, your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles instinctively tighten, bracing for impact. This is the fight, flight, or freeze response, a primitive survival mechanism. When the threat is a saber-toothed tiger, this response is life-saving. After the tiger is gone, the body shakes, releases the tension, and returns to a state of equilibrium. But what happens when the perceived threat is a memory, a thought of guilt, a story of your own unworthiness? This tiger lives inside your head, and so it never truly goes away. The body, therefore, can get locked into a chronic, low-grade state of alarm. The muscles that clenched in a moment of shame never fully unclench. The breath that became shallow in a moment of anxiety never fully returns to its deep, natural rhythm. Over years, this accumulated tension becomes our new normal. The weight of the world on our shoulders becomes a literal, chronic tightness in our trapezius muscles. The knot of anxiety in our stomach becomes a real constriction in our solar plexus. The heavy heart of grief manifests as a collapsed posture and a feeling of pressure in the chest. Guilt, in this way, becomes embodied. It is not just a story we tell, it is a tension we hold. We have been carrying the physical ghost of our past mistakes in our very tissues. Imagine your body in its natural, relaxed state is like a soft, porous sponge, able to easily absorb and release the flow of life's experiences. When an event triggers guilt or shame, it's as if your entire being clenches into a tight fist, squeezing this sponge. This clenching traps the dirty water of the painful emotion, the stagnant energy of the unprocessed event. For years, we may walk around with this clenched fist at the core of our being, wondering why we feel so tense, so tired, so heavy. We might try to ignore the fist, or we might try to pry its fingers open with force, only to find it clenches even harder in resistance. The practice of releasing guilt through the body is the art of patiently and kindly inviting this fist to open on its own, allowing the trapped, stagnant water to finally be released, not through force, but through a gentle surrender. To begin this practice, I invite you to find a position where you can be completely comfortable, preferably lying down on your back. Allow your body to feel fully supported by the surface beneath you. Feel the pull of gravity and give the weight of your body over to it. Let your feet fall open naturally. Let your arms rest by your sides, palms facing up, in a gesture of receiving. Close your eyes gently. For a few moments, simply rest here. Bring your awareness to the points of contact between your body and the floor. Feel your heels, your calves, your thighs, your hips, your shoulders, your arms, the back of your head, all resting, all held. There is nothing for you to do right now, nothing to achieve. Your only task is to be here, in this body. Now, I invite you to gently call to mind the feeling of the old story of guilt. Do not get lost in the narrative. You do not need to replay the event. Simply touch the familiar emotional tone of it, just enough so that you can begin to sense its echo in your body. Where does the ghost of this feeling reside? We will now begin a slow journey through the body, a body scan, bringing a gentle, curious awareness to each part. Let us start with your feet. Bring your full attention to your right foot, then your left. What do you feel? Perhaps warmth, or coolness, tingling, or maybe nothing at all. There is no need to judge it or change it. Simply notice. Then move your awareness slowly up to your ankles, your lower legs, your knees. Just feeling, just noticing. Continue this journey up into your thighs, your hips, your pelvic area. This is an area where we often hold deep tension and vulnerability. Just meet whatever sensations are here with a kind, allowing presence. Now, bring your awareness to your lower back, another common storage place for stress. Is there tightness here, or is it soft and relaxed? Simply notice. Move your attention now into your stomach and abdomen. This is our emotional center. When you think of that old guilt, does a feeling of clenching or hollowness arise here? If so, just acknowledge it. Ah, there is tightness here. Then, continue your journey upward into your chest, the space around your heart. Feel the gentle, rhythmic movement of your breathing. Notice any feelings of heaviness or pressure here. Bring your awareness now to your hands, your right hand, then your left. Often, we hold on to things with clenched fists, both literally and metaphorically. Can you invite your fingers to be soft and open? Then move your attention up your arms and into your shoulders. This is the great storehouse of our burdens. Can you feel the weight you have been carrying here? Finally, bring your awareness to your neck, your jaw, and your face. We hold so much tension in the jaw, clenching against life. Can you invite your jaw to be slack and heavy? Soften the tiny muscles around your eyes and your forehead. Now that you have scanned your body, you may have found several areas of tension, the physical signature of your stored guilt. Choose one of these areas to work with. Bring your full, gentle attention to that spot. Now, we will breathe with it. As you breathe in, imagine your breath could travel directly to that point of tension, carrying with it a sense of spaciousness and kindness. And as you breathe out, extend an invitation for that tension to soften, to melt, to release. You are not forcing it. You are not commanding it. You are creating a warm, welcoming space for it to let go if it is ready. You can support this process with a silent mantra. As you breathe in, you might silently say to yourself, breathing in, acceptance. And as you breathe out, breathing out, release. Inhaling acceptance for what is, exhaling the tension of what was. Continue this for a few minutes, bathing this old, hardened part of yourself in the gentle rhythm of your own compassionate breath. See if you can feel it softening, like a block of ice, melting in the warm sun. To deepen this release, you can also engage in some very gentle, mindful movement. If you are lying down, you might slowly, gently draw your knees into your chest and give yourself a hug, gently rocking from side to side, massaging your lower back. Or you could slowly, mindfully, roll your head from one side to the other, releasing tension in the neck. If you are sitting, you could roll your shoulders up towards your ears on an in-breath, and then let them drop with a sigh on the out-breath. The key is to move slowly, with the same quality of intimate awareness you brought to the body scan, feeling each sensation from the inside. Your body is your greatest ally in this journey of healing. It is not just a container for your pain. It is a wise communicator, constantly telling you where healing is needed. And it has a profound, innate capacity to let go, to return to its natural state of ease, if only we learn to listen to it and treat it with kindness instead of ignoring it or fighting it. By learning to release guilt from your tissues, you are completing the process of forgiveness on every level of your being. We have now journeyed deep within, rewriting the stories in our minds and releasing the old tensions from our bodies. This intensive inner work is profound, but it can also feel very solitary, as if we are the only person in the world engaged in this difficult struggle. But what if this personal journey is actually a doorway to a more profound connection with everyone else? To see how this is possible, we must now zoom our perspective out, from our individual pain to the shared, universal nature of suffering itself. We have journeyed deep into the personal landscape of our minds and bodies. We have learned to rewrite our stories and release the old tensions held in our tissues. This work is essential. It is the foundation of our healing. But if we remain focused only on ourselves, we risk becoming trapped in a subtle form of spiritual isolation. We can become connoisseurs of our own inner states, endlessly analyzing our own progress, our own feelings. The final stages of deep and lasting forgiveness require us to do something brave, to look up and to look out. They require us to take our own personal pain, our own specific story of guilt, and place it within the vast, shared context of the human condition. This is the path of seeing ourselves in everyone, and everyone in ourselves. At the very heart of the Buddha's teaching is a concept known as dukkha. This ancient Pali word is often translated into English as suffering, but this translation can be harsh and misleading, suggesting a life of relentless agony. It is more accurate and helpful to think of dukkha as a fundamental state of unsatisfactoriness, a kind of friction or stress that is inherent in a changing and conditioned existence. The Buddha, often called the Great Physician, did not present dukkha as a pessimistic curse upon humanity. He presented it as a clear-eyed, courageous diagnosis. Just as a good doctor must first accurately diagnose an illness before prescribing a cure, the Buddha first clearly articulated the nature of our universal condition, so that he could then offer the path to its healing. Acknowledging dukkha is not an act of despair, it is the first, essential step toward liberation. To better understand this, we can look at the three levels of dukkha that the teachings describe. The first is the one we all know well, the suffering of suffering. This is the obvious, undeniable pain of life. It is the pain of a body that gets sick, grows old, and eventually dies. It is the grief of losing a loved one. It is the sting of being rejected or betrayed. And it is the sharp, familiar pain of your own guilt and regret, the very pain we have been working with. This is the pain that no one can escape, the clear and present friction of life. The second level is more subtle. It is the suffering of change. This is the stress that arises from the fact that even our happiness is impermanent. Think of a moment of pure joy, a wonderful vacation, the thrill of a new accomplishment, the blissful beginning of a new relationship. These moments are beautiful, but they are fleeting. They arise, they shine, and they pass away. The suffering of change comes from our attempt to cling to them, to make them permanent in a world where nothing is permanent. It is the anxiety that underlies even our best moments, the quiet fear that this too shall pass. It is the disappointment when the thrill fades, the inevitable sense of loss when a beautiful experience becomes just a memory. We create suffering for ourselves by trying to hold on to the water of a flowing river. The third level is the most profound. It is the suffering of conditioned existence itself. This is the subtle, pervasive background hum of unsatisfactoriness that comes from the simple fact of having a self that is a temporary collection of changing physical and mental parts. It connects directly to our explorations of impermanence and no self. It is the stress of being a process, trying to pretend it is a solid thing. It's the feeling of never being quite settled, the existential anxiety that comes from having no solid ground to stand on in a universe of constant flux. It is the friction created by our own mind's constant activity, its endless wanting, its endless comparing, its endless commentary. This is the deepest layer of dukkha, the fundamental vibration of our ordinary, unawakened state. Now, why is it so important to understand this? Because it is the key to depersonalizing your pain. For years, your guilt, your shame, your regret has felt intensely personal. It has felt like your burden, your unique flaw. The inner critic has told you a story that you are uniquely broken, that your mistake was somehow worse than anyone else's. This feeling of being uniquely flawed is a terrible and isolating burden. It separates you from the rest of humanity. The wisdom of dukkha smashes this illusion of isolation. It invites you to take your personal pain and see it as a symptom of a universal condition. Your guilt is not just your guilt, it is a manifestation of dukkha. It is the human heart feeling the pain of having acted out of alignment with its own deepest values. Think of your specific regret right now. Feel its familiar ache. Now, zoom out. Imagine the more than 8 billion other human beings on this planet. Imagine the countless billions who have lived and died before you. Do you truly believe, in your heart of hearts, that you are the only one who has ever felt this exact feeling? Are you the only one who has ever spoken a word in anger? The only one who has ever acted out of selfishness or fear? The only one who has ever failed or let someone down or wished they could turn back time? To believe so is a form of subtle arrogance. The truth is, your pain is not a sign of your personal deficiency. It is a sign of your membership in the human family. To make mistakes is not a flaw in your character. It is part of the curriculum of being human. We are all enrolled in this difficult school, and we all stumble. We all get bruised. We are all learning, through trial and often painful error, how to be kinder, wiser, and more loving beings. When you see this, the shame begins to fall away. The pain may still be there, but the toxic, isolating layer of "there is something wrong with me" dissolves. Your burden is not uniquely yours. It is ours. Let us return to the story of Kisa Gotami, who lost her only child. Initially, her grief was entirely personal. It was my son, my loss, my unbearable pain. Her suffering was a wall, cutting her off from everyone else. The Buddha's genius was in the task he gave her. He didn't tell her to just get over it. He sent her on a journey that forced her to witness the universality of her own pain. As she went from door to door, seeking a mustard seed from a home untouched by death, her perspective was radically transformed. At the first door, she heard of a father who had died. At the next, a daughter. At the next, a spouse. Her personal tragedy began to dissolve into the vast ocean of human sorrow. Her heart broke open. It broke open from the constricting grief for me and mine, into a boundless, compassionate grief for us and ours. Her pain became her bridge to all of humanity. She saw that the first arrow of loss strikes every single home, every single heart. Her own dukkha became the key that unlocked a profound sense of connection to everyone she met. This is the journey we are invited to take, to allow our own personal suffering, our own guilt, to be the very thing that connects us to the rest of the world. This understanding has a profound effect on how we view others. When we are trapped in our own world, we see others as either helping or hindering our own projects. When someone annoys us or acts in a way we don't like, our immediate reaction is judgment and anger. But when we look through the lens of dukkha, our perspective shifts. We can begin to see that the person who is acting out, the person who is arrogant or unkind or defensive, is also a being in the grip of dukkha. We can ask ourselves, what suffering is motivating this person's behavior? What fear are they running from? What pain are they trying to mask with their anger or their pride? We begin to see that their unskillful actions, just like our own past unskillful actions, arise from a place of confusion, fear, and pain. This does not mean we condone harmful behavior, but it allows us to hold it in a larger, more compassionate context. It allows us to protect ourselves without having to fill our own hearts with the poison of hatred. This can even extend to those who have harmed us. To hold on to anger and resentment is to bind ourselves to the person who hurt us. It is to drink a slow-acting poison every day and hope that they will suffer for it. The wisdom of dukkha offers us a path to our own freedom. It allows us to see that the person who hurt us was also a suffering being, acting out of their own blindness, their own dukkha. Seeing this does not excuse their action, but it can release us from the burden of carrying our hatred for them. It is an act of ultimate self-care. Let us try a brief reflection. Bring to mind someone in your life with whom you have some minor difficulty, someone whose behavior you find irritating or challenging. Picture them in your mind's eye. Now, instead of focusing on what annoys you about them, let these phrases gently pass through your awareness. This person, just like me, has known sadness and disappointment. This person, just like me, has fears they do not speak of. This person, just like me, has made mistakes and feels regret. This person, just like me, has been hurt by others. This person, just like me, in their own way, is just trying to find some happiness. This person, just like me, wishes to be free from suffering. Feel how this practice softens the hard edges of your judgment. Feel how it opens a space for a more compassionate understanding. You are seeing their dukkha. You are seeing their humanity. You are seeing yourself in them. This journey from the intense isolation of our personal guilt to the vast, shared ocean of the human condition is profoundly liberating. Our deepest wounds cease to be sources of shame and instead become our credentials for compassion. The heavy, specific weight of being uniquely flawed is lifted from our shoulders, and we are left with the much lighter, shared condition of being simply and completely human. We are all walking each other home. This expanded, compassionate perspective, which can now hold both our own suffering and the suffering of others, prepares us for one of the most powerful acts of self-liberation we can undertake. If we can begin to see the suffering humanity in those who have annoyed us or even harmed us, we can begin the courageous process of forgiving them, not as a gift to them, but as the ultimate act of unburdening our own hearts. Having journeyed into the heart of our shared human condition, seeing our own struggles reflected in the lives of all beings, we arrive at a crucial and often challenging frontier in our quest for inner peace. The act of forgiving others. For many, this feels like a bridge too far. Our own mistakes are one thing, but the hurts inflicted upon us by others can feel raw, unjust, and unforgivable. A voice inside us may protest, "Why should I forgive them? They don't deserve it." Forgiveness would mean that what they did was acceptable. This resistance is completely understandable. It comes from a deep and valid desire for justice and the protection of our own hearts. But the wisdom traditions offer a radical reframing of forgiveness, one that shifts the entire purpose of the act. True forgiveness, in this context, is not a gift you give to the other person. It is a profound gift you give to yourself. It has almost nothing to do with them and everything to do with your own liberation. Imagine you are holding a burning piece of coal in your hand with the intention of one day throwing it at the person who wronged you. Your hand is seared. Your mind is consumed by the pain of the coal and the project of your future revenge. You are in a state of constant, self-inflicted agony. Meanwhile, the other person may be miles away, completely unaware of your suffering, having long since moved on with their life. Who, then, is truly being punished by your refusal to drop the coal? You are. Resentment, anger, and the thirst for revenge are this hot coal. To hold on to them is to choose to burn yourself, day after day, in the hope that your suffering will somehow affect someone else. Forgiveness is the simple, intelligent, and courageous act of deciding to open your hand and let the hot coal fall to the ground. You do it not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free from the pain of being burned. When we hold on to resentment, we are binding ourselves to the person who hurt us with invisible but incredibly strong chains. They continue to live inside our minds, rent-free, occupying our precious mental and emotional space. We replay the tapes of what they did. We have imaginary arguments with them in the shower. We allow the memory of their actions to dictate our mood in the present moment. In a very real way, we are giving them the power to continue hurting us long after the original event is over. We are tethered to the past, unable to fully inhabit the freedom of the present. Forgiveness is the act of cutting these chains. It is a declaration of your own sovereignty. It is you taking back the keys to your own mind and heart and gently showing the unwanted tenant the door. You are not saying what they did was okay. You are saying, you no longer have the power to cause me suffering. I am taking my energy back. How then do we perform this alchemy? How do we transform the dense, heavy lead of resentment into the gold of inner peace? We use the very same tools of wisdom we have been cultivating all along. First, we apply the lens of dukkha, of universal suffering. We can reflect that the person who hurt us acted from their own state of suffering. They were in the grip of their own fear, their own greed, their own anger, their own profound ignorance and confusion. A happy, peaceful, and truly fulfilled person does not go around causing harm to others. Their harmful action was a symptom of their own inner poverty, their own dukkha. To see this is not to excuse their behavior, but it is to understand it in a way that depersonalizes the wound. It was less about you and more about the turmoil within them. This understanding can soften the hard edges of our anger and open a small crack for compassion to enter. Next, we can apply the wisdom of impermanence and no self. The person who hurt you then is not the exact same person today, and the you who was hurt is not the same you who is here now. Both of you are flowing, changing processes. To hold on to a grudge is to try and freeze two flowing rivers at a single moment in time, creating an eternal drama between two static statues, the victim and the perpetrator. Forgiveness is acknowledging that the river of life has moved on and choosing to flow with it, rather than remaining trapped in a frozen moment from the past. Let us try a gentle internal practice of forgiveness. Again, it is wise to start with something small, not a deep betrayal, but perhaps a minor hurt, an unkind comment, a broken promise. Bring this person and situation to mind. First, allow yourself to acknowledge the pain. Without drama, simply say to yourself, "That hurt. What you did caused me pain, and I acknowledge that truth." We are not bypassing the wound, we are honoring its reality. Second, practice the reflection on their humanity. Silently say, "Just like me, this person has known fear and pain. Just like me, they have been driven by forces they do not understand. They acted from their own state of suffering and confusion." Third, make a conscious choice for your own freedom. You can create your own words, but they might sound something like this: "I have carried the burden of this anger for long enough. For the sake of my own peace of mind, for the sake of my own health and happiness, I choose to release you. I am dropping the hot coal. I forgive you." Say this over and over, gently. It is not a magic spell. You may not feel an immediate flood of forgiveness. That is perfectly fine. You are planting a seed of intention. You are making a conscious choice. The feeling will follow in its own time. The important thing is the decision to no longer be a prisoner of your own resentment. There is a famous story about the Japanese Zen master Hakuin that illustrates the profound freedom that this practice can bring. A young woman in the village where he lived became pregnant. Her angry parents demanded to know who the father was. To protect her young lover, the girl, in a moment of panic, named the master Hakuin, who was revered for his pure and celibate life. The furious parents stormed to the monastery and screamed at Hakuin, "My daughter has confessed. You are the father of her child. Hakuin, in the face of this shocking and reputation-destroying accusation, showed no anger, no defensiveness. He simply said, "Is that so?" When the child was born, the parents brought it to Hakuin and said, "This is your child. You must care for it." For a year, the master, his reputation in tatters, lovingly cared for the baby, getting milk from the village and ensuring its every need was met. His inner peace was not touched because it was not dependent on the opinions of others. Then, the young woman, overcome with guilt, confessed the truth to her parents. The real father was a young man from the village. The parents were horrified. They immediately went to Hakuin, bowing low, apologizing profusely for their mistake, and asked for the child back. Hakuin, as he gently handed the baby over, showed no vindication, no trace of "I told you so." He simply said, "Is that so?" This story reveals a mind that is utterly free. Hakuin's peace was so deep that he did not need to hold on to resentment, even for a moment. He was not attached to his reputation, so false accusations could not disturb him. He was a living embodiment of someone who had dropped the hot coals so completely that his hands were free to care for a child with love. This is the radical freedom that forgiveness offers. Peace, so stable that the dramas of the world cannot penetrate its core. The act of forgiving others is the final step in clearing the debris of the past. By forgiving ourselves, we release the burden of our own mistakes. By forgiving others, we release the burden of our own resentment. We are finally free to put down all the heavy bags. We have journeyed through the mind, the body, and the heart. We have faced our own story and learned to see it as part of a universal one. We have practiced kindness, compassion, and letting go. This journey can bring profound insights and moments of deep peace. But life, by its very nature, is a series of ups and downs. The next stage in our practice is to cultivate a state of mind that can remain balanced, stable, and serene, no matter what waves may come. We must now learn to cultivate the unshakable quality of equanimity. Having journeyed through the practices of forgiveness for ourselves and for others, we have cleared away so much of the heavy debris from the past. We have created space in our hearts. This journey, however, is not always a smooth, linear ascent. There will be days when we feel light and free, and other days when the old ghosts of guilt or resentment reappear. Life, in its very nature, is a dynamic and unpredictable flow of events. We experience moments of gain and moments of loss, moments of praise and moments of blame, moments of pleasure and moments of pain. If our inner peace is dependent on only experiencing the pleasant side of life, it will be a fragile and fleeting peace indeed. This is why we must now cultivate the crown jewel of the heart's virtues, the unshakable quality of upekkha, or equanimity. Equanimity is the fourth of the four divine abodes, or Brahma Viharas, the sublime states of heart. If loving kindness is the gentle sun, and compassion is the healing rain, then equanimity is the vast, open sky in which both sun and rain can appear without changing the sky's fundamental nature. It is the quality of profound balance, of spaciousness, of a deep and unwavering inner peace that is not disturbed by the changing fortunes of the world. It is the ability to stand in the very center of life's storms, in the calm eye of the hurricane, and remain centered, grounded, and at peace. It is absolutely essential to understand what equanimity is not, for it is easily confused with its counterfeits. Equanimity is not indifference. Indifference is a cold, closed-off state. It is a form of aversion, a defense mechanism that says, "I don't care," in order to avoid being hurt. The heart of indifference is numb and shut down. The heart of equanimity, by contrast, is wide open. It is exquisitely sensitive and engaged with life. It cares deeply, it feels fully, but its own core well-being is not held hostage by outcomes. The motto of indifference is, I don't care. The motto of equanimity is, I will care with all my heart, but I will not be thrown off balance by what happens. Equanimity is also not apathy or passivity. It does not mean that we stop taking action to make the world a better place or to improve our own lives. In fact, true equanimity is the foundation for the most powerful and effective action. When we act from a place of reactivity from anger, fear, or anxiety, actions are often clumsy and unskillful and can create more harm than good. When we act from a place of equanimity, we are acting from a center of clarity, wisdom, and balance. Our actions are more likely to be precise, compassionate, and truly helpful. It is the difference between a panicked surgeon and a calm, focused one. Both care deeply, but only the calm one can be trusted to heal. Finally, equanimity is not emotional suppression. It is not about gritting your teeth and refusing to feel your feelings. This is a form of inner violence. Equanimity is the opposite. It is about creating a container of awareness that is so vast and so strong that it can hold any and all feelings without being shattered by them. It allows you to feel joy without grasping, to feel sorrow without drowning, to feel anger without being consumed by it. You are not pushing your feelings away. You are allowing them to arise, to be felt, and to pass away, all within the spacious, accepting embrace of your awareness. The best way to understand the quality of equanimity is through the metaphor of a great mountain. I invite you now to visualize yourself as a huge, ancient mountain. Feel your posture becoming solid, stable, and majestic. Feel your connection to the earth beneath you, deeply rooted and unshakable. You have been sitting here for millions of years. You are the embodiment of stillness and strength. Now, imagine the weather of the world passing across your surface. A brilliant, warm sun appears, bathing your slopes in golden light. This is like the experience of success, of praise, of pleasure. You feel the warmth, you enjoy it, but it does not make you arrogant. You do not cling to it, because you know the sun will eventually set. You are the mountain. Then, a gentle rain begins to fall. This is like a mild sadness, a moment of disappointment. You feel the coolness of the water on your surface. You allow it to wash over you, nourishing the life on your slopes, and you know that it, too, will pass. You are the mountain. Fierce winds begin to blow. These are the winds of blame, of criticism, of harsh words from others. They howl and push against you. You can feel their force, but they do not move you. They cannot shake your core. You are too vast, too deeply rooted. You let the winds blow themselves out. You are the mountain. Then, a dark and violent thunderstorm rolls in. Lightning flashes, thunder cracks. This is a moment of deep grief, a surge of rage, or the return of a powerful, painful memory of guilt. The storm rages on your surface. It is intense, it is powerful, but it does not penetrate your heart of stone. The storm is happening to you, but it is not you. You are the mountain, and your nature is a deep, quiet peace that the storm cannot touch. You can hold the storm, and you know, with the wisdom of ages, that this storm, like every storm before it, will eventually pass, leaving the sky clean and clear once more. This is equanimity. It is the cultivation of this mountain-like quality in the heart and mind. So how do we practice this? We practice by patiently observing the weather patterns of our own inner world, without being swept away by them. The formal practice for this is the observation of what are called feeling tones, or vedana. Every single experience we have, whether it's a thought, a sound, or a physical sensation, is accompanied by one of three basic feeling tones: pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Our entire life of struggle is driven by our unconscious reaction to these tones. We grasp at the pleasant, we push away the unpleasant, and we ignore the neutral. The practice of equanimity is to bring this unconscious process into conscious awareness. Let us try this now. Remaining in your state of centered, mountain-like awareness, simply open your attention to whatever arises in your experience. When you notice a pleasant feeling, perhaps a comfortable sensation in your body, a happy memory, a sweet sound, just silently label it pleasant, pleasant. Notice the mind's tendency to want to hold on to it, to grasp it. See if you can just allow it to be pleasant without clinging, knowing it is impermanent. When you notice an unpleasant feeling, an ache in your back, an irritating noise from outside, the memory of a mistakenly label it unpleasant, unpleasant. Watch the mind's immediate reaction of aversion, the desire to push it away. See if you can just allow it to be there, without resistance. Can you meet this unpleasant sensation with the vast, patient stillness of the mountain, knowing that it too is just weather, and it too will pass? When you notice a neutral feeling, the sensation of your clothes on your skin, the feeling of the air in the room, a thought that has no emotional charge, label it neutral, neutral. Notice the mind's tendency to get bored, to check out, to look for something more interesting. See if you can bring a clear and steady attention even to this neutral experience without being lulled into distraction. You can continue this practice simply sitting like a mountain, labeling the weather of your inner world as it passes, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. This is a profound practice of non-reactivity. It trains the mind to pause in that critical moment between a feeling arising and our habitual reaction to it. It creates a circuit breaker in the mechanism of our suffering. When the painful memory of a past mistake arises, it comes with a strong, unpleasant feeling tone. Our habit is to immediately react. I hate this feeling. I am a terrible person. I need to get rid of this. We are knocked over by the storm. With equanimity, our response can be different. We feel the unpleasant sensation arise, and we can meet it with the calm stability of the mountain. We can label it, unpleasant feeling. The feeling of regret has arisen. We can breathe with it, knowing it is impermanent, knowing it is just weather. We are in the eye of the storm. The storm is still raging, but we are untouched in our center. This is the ultimate freedom from the tyranny of the past. This quality of equanimity is the great balancer of the heart. It ensures that our loving kindness does not become attachment or grief. It ensures that our compassion does not lead to burnout or despair. It is the spacious, wise container that can hold all the expressions of our heart in perfect harmony. It is the ground of our being, the peace that passeth all understanding. And in the vast, clear, open space that equanimity creates, a very special kind of joy has room to grow. It is not the selfish joy of personal gain, but a more selfless, radiant happiness. It is the joy we feel when we see the goodness and happiness of others, and even when we recognize the goodness and growth within ourselves. This boundless, celebratory quality of the heart is known as sympathetic joy, or mudita, and it is the beautiful landscape we will turn to explore next. Having established our minds in the vast, stable peace of equanimity, we create the perfect conditions for a rare and beautiful flower to bloom in the garden of the heart. This flower is mudita, which is often translated as sympathetic or appreciative joy. If loving kindness is the wish for all beings to find happiness, and compassion is the heart's quiver in the face of suffering, mudita is the heart's joyful celebration when happiness is found, whether it is our own or that of another. It is the ability to delight in good fortune, to feel genuine joy in the success, growth, and happiness of others, free from the shadows of comparison or envy. In our modern world, mudita can feel like the most challenging of the heart practices. We live in a culture that is saturated with comparison. We scroll through the carefully curated highlight reels of other people's lives, and our mind immediately generates feelings of lack, of jealousy, of why not me. This comparing mind is a potent source of suffering. It creates a sense of separation and reinforces the painful illusion that happiness is a limited resource, a zero-sum game where another's gain must be our loss. Mudita is the direct and powerful antidote to this poison. It is the conscious and courageous choice to turn the tables on envy. Instead of feeling diminished by another's success, we choose to participate in it, to share in their joy. This act magically transforms a moment of painful separation into a moment of joyful connection. When your heart learns to delight in the happiness of others, your opportunities for happiness become infinite. While feeling joy for others is a beautiful practice, the most crucial and often most difficult application of mudita for those on a path of self-forgiveness is learning to feel it for ourselves. For years, our inner landscape has been dominated by the harsh voice of the inner critic, a voice that is exceptionally skilled at pointing out flaws, but utterly inept at acknowledging progress. When we have been conditioned to see only what is wrong with us, the act of celebrating what is right can feel foreign, uncomfortable, or even arrogant. The inner critic will rush in to diminish any small victory, saying, "That's not good enough," or "Don't get too happy, you'll probably mess up again tomorrow," or "You don't deserve to feel good about yourself." For so long on this journey, we have been focused, out of necessity, on our wounds. We have sat with our pain, investigated our mistakes, and held our suffering with compassion. This is essential work, but if we only ever focus on what is broken, we inadvertently reinforce the story that we are a fixer-upper, a problem to be solved. Mudita brings a vital balance. It invites us to deliberately shift our attention, to actively scan our lives for evidence of our own goodness, our own growth, our own progress, no matter how small. It is the practice of becoming a collector of our own beautiful moments. This is not about waiting for some grand achievement. We are not waiting until we are fully healed or enlightened to feel joy in ourselves. We are learning to celebrate the micro-victories that happen every single day on this path. Did you catch the inner critic in the act today, and for a single moment not believe its story? This is a cause for immense celebration. This is mudita. Did you feel a flash of anger arise and choose to take a breath instead of lashing out? This is a victory for the heart. Celebrate it. Did you feel a moment of genuine peace or warmth for yourself during one of these meditations? This is the flower of your practice blooming. Delight in it. Did you simply show up today with the sincere intention to heal, to listen, to grow? Your intention itself is an act of profound beauty and courage. It is worthy of your own appreciative joy. This practice of celebrating the small steps is a radical act of self-love. It actively rewires the brain, counteracting its innate negativity bias, tendency to scan for threats and problems. By consciously looking for and savoring what is going right, you begin to change the entire emotional tone of your inner world, from one of grim determination to one of joyful encouragement. The perfect metaphor for this practice is that of a loving parent watching their toddler learn to walk. Imagine the scene. The little child pulls themselves up, their little legs wobbly and unsure. They take one step, their face a mask of intense concentration. They take a second step, and a huge, delighted grin spreads across their face. And then, they lose their balance and tumble down onto the soft carpet. What is the parent's reaction? Does the parent scowl and say, "You only took 2 steps, you fell again, you're a failure at walking"? Of course not. That would be absurd and cruel. The parent's heart floods with mudita, with sympathetic joy. They don't even notice the fall. They cheer wildly for the 2 wobbly steps. They celebrate the effort, the courage, the incredible milestone of that brief, successful moment. The fall is seen for what it is, an inevitable and necessary part of the learning process. We must learn to become this wise, loving, and encouraging parent for the emerging part of ourselves that is learning to walk this new path. The part of you that is learning to be mindful, to be compassionate, to be forgiving, is like this inner toddler. It will be wobbly, it will take a few good steps, and then it will fall. It will forget. It will revert to old, conditioned habits of self-criticism and fear. Your job is not to condemn the falls. Your job is to learn to genuinely, wholeheartedly celebrate the steps. Every time you remember to be kind to yourself, you have taken a step. Celebrate. Every time you notice you are lost in thought and gently return to your breath, you have taken a step. Celebrate. Every time you feel the sting of regret and meet it with compassion instead of judgment, you have taken a monumental step. Let your heart swell with a quiet, appreciative joy for your own courage and your own beautiful effort. This practice is not a frivolous add-on to the serious work of healing. It is a vital source of energy for the journey. The practice of compassion, of being with suffering, can sometimes feel heavy. It requires strength and resilience. Mudita is the quality that brings lightness and inspiration to the path. It is the buoyancy that keeps our spirits afloat. It makes the journey of self-discovery not just a solemn duty, but a joyful adventure. It fills our sails with the winds of encouragement. With mudita, our quartet of the heart's sublime states is now complete. We have metta, loving kindness, the foundational wish for well-being for ourselves and all others. We have karuna, compassion, the heart's tender response to the presence of suffering. We have mudita, sympathetic joy, the heart's celebratory response to the presence of happiness and growth. And we have upekkha, equanimity, the vast, balanced wisdom that holds them all, ensuring our love is not attachment, our compassion is not burnout, and our joy is not selfish. These four qualities, when cultivated together, create a heart that is truly awake, resilient, responsive, boundless, and free. Having now explored these four essential qualities of the heart, and having previously journeyed through the wisdom of impermanence and the practice of forgiveness, we have gathered all the materials we need. We have the blueprint and the tools. The next logical step in our inner work is to consciously take these beautiful elements and use them to construct a reliable, safe, and beautiful place within ourselves. We will now learn how to build our own inner sanctuary, a refuge of peace we can return to whenever the storms of life begin to gather. Having journeyed through the great heart qualities of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, we have now gathered all the essential materials for a magnificent and sacred project, the construction of our own inner sanctuary. Throughout human history, in all cultures, people have sought refuge. We have built cathedrals, temples, and sacred groves places where the spirit can feel safe, nurtured, and connected to something larger than the small, everyday self. While these external refuges can be beautiful and powerful, they are not always available to us. The world outside is often chaotic, noisy, and demanding. Our true and lasting refuge cannot be a place we go to physically. It must be a place we can access internally. This practice is not about spiritual bypassing or escapism. It is not about hiding from the challenges of life. It is about creating a dedicated, internal space for healing, recharging, and reconnecting with our deepest resources. It is like having a beautiful, quiet room in your own home. You don't live in that room all day, but you know it is always there for you. When the world becomes too much, when the voices of stress and self-doubt become too loud, you can consciously choose to step into this inner room, close the door, and rest in a space of profound peace and safety. From this place of restored strength and clarity, you can then re-engage with the world, not from a place of reactivity and depletion, but from a center of calm and wisdom. We have already gathered the building materials for this sacred construction. The foundation upon which we will build is the unshakable ground of equanimity. This foundation is solid, balanced, and able to hold anything without being disturbed. It is the wisdom that knows all things arise and pass away. The walls and the roof of our sanctuary will be built from the protective strength of compassion. These are walls of kindness that no self-judgment, no inner critic, no voice of shame can penetrate. Within these walls, you are completely safe from your own inner attacks. The light and the atmosphere within this space will be the warm, golden glow of loving kindness. Every breath you take here is a breath of unconditional self-acceptance. The air itself is filled with the simple, gentle wish for your own well-being. And finally, we will adorn our sanctuary with objects of beauty that represent sympathetic joy reminders of our own growth, our courage, and our good heart. Let us begin the construction now. Find a comfortable posture, close your eyes, and take a few deep, settling breaths. Let go of the outside world and turn your attention inward. I invite you now to imagine, or to feel, a place that for you represents perfect peace, safety, and beauty. This place is entirely your own creation. It might be a sun-dappled forest grove, silent except for the sound of the wind in the leaves. It could be a secluded beach at twilight, the waves gently lapping at the shore. Perhaps it is a vast, quiet library filled with ancient books, or a serene temple with the faint scent of incense in the air. It could be a cozy, fire-lit room on a snowy night, or a beautiful garden in full bloom. Do not worry about making the image perfectly clear. Just get a sense, a feeling of this place that is your personal refuge. Now, let us bring this place to life using all of our senses. What do you see here? Notice the quality of the light, the colors, the shapes. What do you hear? Is it the sound of nature, or is it a profound silence? What do you smell? The scent of damp earth, of sea salt, of wood smoke, or flowers? And what do you feel against your skin? The warmth of the sun, a cool breeze, the texture of a soft blanket. Take a few moments to truly inhabit this space, making it as real and vivid as you can. Now, we will consciously infuse this sanctuary with the qualities we have cultivated. Feel the ground beneath you in this place, be it sand, soft grass, or a solid floor. Know that this ground is the foundation of your equanimity. It is stable, solid, and can hold you no matter what. Feel its supportive strength beneath you, allowing you to relax completely. Look at the natural boundaries of your space, the circle of trees, the walls of the room, the vastness of the ocean and sky. Know that these boundaries are made of pure compassion. They are a shield of kindness. Within this space, you are completely safe. No harm can come to you here, especially the harm of your own self-judgment. Feel the protective, gentle strength of these compassionate walls surrounding you. Now, bring your awareness to the air you are breathing in this sanctuary. Imagine that the very atmosphere here is glowing with the warm, golden light of loving kindness. With every in-breath, you are drawing this light, this unconditional friendliness, deep into your body, into every cell. With every out-breath, you are releasing any remaining tension, any lingering doubt. You are breathing in peace and breathing out struggle. Look around your sanctuary and notice some small, beautiful detail. Perhaps it is a single, perfect flower, a uniquely shaped stone, or a beam of light hitting a certain spot. Let this beautiful detail represent your sympathetic joy. Let it be a quiet reminder of your own goodness, your own sincere effort on this path, a celebration of your own growth. If you wish, you can invite a presence into this sanctuary with you. This could be a figure of wisdom and compassion from any tradition, the Buddha, Christ, a saint, or a deity. It could be a wise and loving ancestor, or simply a personification of your own deepest, wisest self, your inner guide. Imagine this being sitting with you in comfortable silence, radiating pure love and acceptance. You don't need to say anything. Just feel what it's like to be in the presence of complete, unconditional love and wisdom. Know that you are worthy of being in this presence. This sanctuary is now built. It is your own inner temple, your portable refuge, and you can return here anytime you wish. This brings us to the beautiful metaphor of the turtle. The turtle carries its home, its refuge, on its back. Wherever it goes, it has its sanctuary. When danger appears, when the world feels threatening, the turtle does not need to run and find a cave. It simply has to draw its head and limbs into the safety of its own shell. We must learn to become like the turtle. This inner sanctuary is our psychological shell. The way to make this shell strong and readily available is to practice visiting it. At first, you might set aside a few minutes each day to sit quietly and consciously enter your sanctuary, just to reinforce the neural pathways. But the real practice is learning to access it in moments of need. When you are at work and you receive a stressful email, when you are in a conversation and you feel yourself becoming reactive, when you are alone at night and the inner critic begins its assault, you can learn the practice of the one-breath retreat. It is very simple. You pause. You take one single, deep, conscious breath, and on the long, slow out-breath, you mentally step into your sanctuary. You don't have to stay long, just 1 second. 1 second to feel the solid ground of equanimity, to remember the warmth of loving kindness, to feel the safety of your compassionate walls. This one-breath retreat can completely shift your state of being. It breaks the momentum of fear and reactivity and reconnects you with your center, your strength, and your peace. This inner sanctuary is a powerful testament to your own capacity to create safety and peace for yourself. It is built from the qualities of your own heart. It is always here, always available, always waiting for you. But a sanctuary, a refuge, is not meant to be a permanent hiding place. Its purpose is to heal us, to strengthen us, and to restore us so that we can re-engage with the world in a more skillful, loving, and courageous way. Our final steps on this particular journey, then, are about learning how to carry the peace of the sanctuary out into the world, integrating these practices into the very fabric of our daily thoughts, words, and actions. Having constructed a beautiful and reliable sanctuary within, a place of profound peace and safety, our journey now takes a vital turn. We must learn how to leave the temple and walk in the marketplace without losing our center. A sanctuary is a place to recharge and remember who we are, but life is lived in the world, in our homes, our workplaces, our relationships. The ultimate goal of this path is not to become an expert at meditating in a quiet room, but to become a more awake, free, and compassionate human being in the midst of ordinary, everyday life. The final and most transformative phase of forgiveness is learning to live it, moment by moment, as an ongoing action. This is the practice of mindful living. Mindfulness, at its heart, is incredibly simple. The word itself, in the original Pali language, is sati, which means to remember. It is the practice of remembering to pay attention to the present moment, intentionally and without judgment. Let's break that down. Intentionally means we are choosing to direct our awareness, rather than letting it be pulled around by random thoughts and distractions. In the present moment means we are bringing our focus to what is happening right now, not dwelling on the past or rehearsing the future. And without judgment is the key that unlocks it all. It means we observe our experience, whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, with the same kind, impartial curiosity we have been cultivating all along. We are not trying to change our experience, but simply to be with it as it is. How does this relate to forgiveness in action? It is everything. Forgiveness ceases to be a one-time event we perform and becomes a quality of awareness we inhabit. Every time you are about to speak a harsh word and you mindfully choose to pause instead, you are practicing forgiveness in action. You are forgiving yourself in advance for a future regret you did not create. Every time the old story of guilt begins to play in your mind and you mindfully recognize it as just a story, not the truth of who you are. You are practicing forgiveness in action. Every time you feel the physical clench of anxiety and you meet it with a soft, compassionate breath, you are practicing forgiveness in action. Mindfulness is the operating system that allows the applications of loving kindness, compassion, and equanimity to run continuously in the background of your life. The laboratory for this practice is your daily routine. You do not need to set aside extra time. You simply need to bring a new quality of attention to the things you are already doing. The foundation for this is your breath. Your breath is your most faithful friend, your constant anchor to the present moment. At any time, in any place, standing in a line, waiting for a meeting to start, sitting in traffic, you can practice. Simply bring your full attention to the sensation of one in-breath and one out-breath. That's it. One conscious breath is a miniature holiday from the frantic mind, a momentary return to your inner sanctuary. You can practice while you are walking, as you walk from your car to your office, or from one room of your house to another. Bring your attention to the soles of your feet. Feel the sensation of your foot lifting, moving through the air, and then placing itself back down on the ground. Feel the solid earth beneath you. You are not trying to get anywhere. You are simply being fully present for each step. This practice grounds you, calms the nervous system, and makes you less likely to be swept away by the winds of memory and anxiety. You can practice while you are eating. For just the first few bites of your next meal, engage in it with all of your senses. Look at the colors and textures of the food. Smell its aroma. When you take a bite, chew slowly. Notice the explosion of flavors, the sweet, the salty, the sour, the bitter. Feel the texture of the food in your mouth. Most of us eat on autopilot. Our minds a million miles away. Mindful eating is a delicious and profound practice of being fully present for the nourishment that life is offering you in this moment. The great Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh, spoke of this with the simple example of washing the dishes. He said that while you are washing the dishes, you should only be washing the dishes. You should not be thinking about the cup of tea you will drink afterwards, or the project you need to finish. You should be completely present with the warm water, the slippery soap, the form of each plate and bowl. In this state of mindful attention, the simple act of washing dishes becomes a miracle, a sacred ritual. The purpose of washing the dishes is not to have clean dishes. The purpose of washing the dishes is to wash the dishes. In the same way, the purpose of living is not to get to some future destination called happiness. The purpose of living is to be fully alive in each moment, whether that moment contains joy, sorrow, or the simple act of doing a mundane chore. As we bring this quality of mindful attention to our lives, we will inevitably become more skillful. We will cause less harm to ourselves and others. But we are human, and we are imperfect. We will still make mistakes. The practice of forgiveness in action also includes how we deal with the new, small regrets we create every day. Our old habit might be to make a small mistake, like forgetting to call a friend back, and allow the inner critic to launch a full-scale attack, turning a molehill of error into a mountain of guilt. Mindful living offers a new way, a practice of instant forgiveness. We can think of it as a simple, three-step process. The first step is to acknowledge. The moment you realize you have erred, simply acknowledge the fact, clearly and without drama. I see that I was impatient with my child. I acknowledge that I spoke carelessly in that meeting. You are not making excuses, nor are you engaging in self-flagellation. You are simply seeing what is true with the clarity of a neutral observer. The second step is to learn. Having acknowledged the mistake, you compassionately ask, what is the lesson here? What were the conditions that led to this? Was I tired, stressed, in a hurry? You quickly and skillfully extract the wisdom from the event. The lesson might be, when I am tired, I need to be more mindful of my tone of voice. Or, I need to slow down and listen more carefully. If amends are needed, you make them. A simple, sincere apology is a powerful act of learning. The third and final step is to let go. This is crucial. Once you have acknowledged the mistake and learned the lesson from it, your business with that event is complete. There is absolutely no reason to continue carrying it as a burden of guilt. You can consciously choose to release it. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, imagine yourself letting go of the entire story, the entire emotional charge. The lesson has been integrated. The rest is just dead weight. Let it go. By practicing this acknowledge, learn, let go cycle, you prevent the accumulation of new regrets. You deal with your imperfections in real time, with wisdom and grace. You stop adding new stones to the heavy backpack you have worked so hard to empty. Living mindfully in this way is how we weave the peace of our sanctuary into the very fabric of our lives. The distinction between our formal meditation practice and our life begins to dissolve. Every moment becomes an opportunity to practice. Every breath is a return home. Every mistake is a teacher. Every interaction is a chance to embody kindness and compassion. This is not a life free from problems or pain, but it is a life lived with a profound sense of inner freedom, a lightness of being that comes from no longer being at war with ourselves or our history. This new way of living prepares us for most of what life will throw at us. The daily practice of mindfulness keeps us grounded, and the practice of instant forgiveness keeps our slate clean. But there may still be times when, seemingly out of nowhere, a huge tidal wave from the past rises up our memory so powerful, a grief so deep, a shame so acute that it threatens to overwhelm us completely. In these moments, we need a special kind of skill. We need to know how to find the precious, powerful space that exists between the trigger and our reaction. We need to discover the profound gift of the gap. Through the practice of mindful living, we learn to navigate the small streams and rivers of our daily existence with greater grace and skill. We learn to prevent many new regrets from arising, and we have a method for dealing with the small ones that inevitably do. But there are times in every human life when we are not faced with a gentle stream, but with a tidal wave. A memory, a trigger, a sudden event can unleash a torrent of past pain that rises up so quickly and so powerfully that it threatens to sweep us away entirely. It is in these moments of intense emotional flooding that we need a specific, powerful, and immediately accessible tool. We need to learn how to find and use the profound gift of the gap. In a famous insight, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl observed, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. This space, this gap, is the most precious real estate in your entire psychological universe." For most of our lives, we are completely unaware that this space even exists. A stimulus occurs, someone says, a critical word, a painful memory surfaces, a feeling of failure arises, and our reaction seems instantaneous and automatic. The trigger and the emotional spiral feel like a single event. A spark lands, and the forest immediately erupts in flame. We feel like helpless puppets, our strings pulled by the events of the past and the present. The entire path of mindfulness and self-awareness can be seen as the training to first perceive this tiny gap and then to intentionally widen it. Even if we can only stretch it to the length of a single second, that 1 second is the birthplace of all our freedom. It is the moment we stop being a reactive machine, a bundle of conditioned reflexes, and start becoming a conscious human being with the power of choice. In that sacred pause, we wrest control back from the automatic, primitive parts of our brain and give it to the wise, compassionate, adult consciousness we have been so diligently cultivating. The most powerful, reliable, and portable tool for creating this gap is the one that is always with you, your breath. A conscious breath is not just a calming idea, it is a direct intervention in your nervous system. When a strong emotional trigger occurs, your body's alarm system, the amygdala, immediately fires, flooding your system with adrenaline and cortisol. This is the fight or flight response. Your heart pounds, your muscles tense, and the rational, thinking part of your brain begins to go offline. A conscious, deliberate breath, especially a long, slow exhale, sends a powerful signal back to your nervous system that says, the danger is not immediate. You are safe. You can stand down. It is the ultimate pause button, a physiological and psychological circuit breaker. Let us learn a simple, practical technique for these moments of high intensity. You can think of it as the 3 essential steps: stop, breathe, and soften. The first step, the moment you feel that wave of shame, guilt, or anger beginning to rise, is to simply stop, freeze everything. If you are about to speak, stop the words in your throat. If you are about to type, take your fingers off the keyboard. If you are caught in a mental spiral, just command your mind to halt. This initial, jarring stop is the first assertion of your conscious will against the overwhelming momentum of habit. The second step is to breathe. Immediately bring your entire, undivided attention to the physical sensation of one single breath. Don't just think about breathing, feel it. Feel the air coming in through your nostrils, cool and fresh. Feel your belly and chest expand. Then, follow the breath all the way out, a long, slow, complete exhalation. This one conscious breath is the gap. For the few seconds it takes to complete that breath, you have stepped out of the raging river of your reactivity and onto the safe bank of present moment awareness. The third step is to soften. As you exhale, consciously and intentionally invite the clenched up parts of your body to soften. Let your jaw go slack. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Unclench your fists. Let your stomach muscles relax. The body and mind are a feedback loop. By physically softening your body, you are sending another powerful signal to your brain that the immediate threat has passed and it is safe to relax. Stop, breathe, soften. This simple, 3-part practice can be done in a matter of seconds, and it is the key to taking back your power in the face of even the most intense emotional triggers. So, you have created a pause. You have opened up a space. What do you do in this precious gap you have created? You choose. The gap is the ultimate choice point. On one side is the old, well-worn, familiar path of reaction, the downward spiral of shame, the bitter monologue of resentment. On the other side is a new path, the one you have been building. The gap is the space where you have time to remember your tools. In that brief moment of stillness, you can consciously choose to access the resources you have so carefully developed. You can choose to bring in compassion. You can say to the rising pain, I see you. This hurts. I am here with you. You can place a hand on your heart and offer yourself the comfort you need. You can choose to bring in loving kindness. You can whisper to yourself the sacred phrases, may I be safe. May I be at ease in this difficult moment. You can choose to remember the wisdom of impermanence. You can remind yourself, this is a storm, but I am the sky. This feeling is intense, but it is not permanent. It will pass. You can choose to take a one-breath retreat to your inner sanctuary, reconnecting with your place of ultimate safety and peace, even for just an instant. The gap gives you time to remember that you are no longer helpless. You have a full complement of tools. You have a rich inner pharmacy. The pause allows you to open the medicine cabinet and choose the right remedy, rather than just instinctively reaching for the familiar poison of self-attack. Think of it in a more everyday context. Imagine you receive an email that is critical, unfair, and written in an angry tone, the stimulus. The habitual reaction for many of us is instantaneous. A surge of adrenaline, a feeling of defensiveness, and our fingers immediately fly to the keyboard to type an equally angry, defensive reply. We hit send, and often, an hour later, we regret it. The gap between stimulus and response was non-existent. Now, imagine the wise response. You read the email, you feel the surge of anger, but you have been practicing. You stop. You take one deep breath. You soften your shoulders. You make a conscious choice. I will not reply to this right now. You have created a gap. Perhaps you wait an hour. Perhaps you wait a full day. In that space, the initial emotional storm passes. The rational, wise part of your brain comes back online. You are now able to read the email again and see the situation more clearly. You can draft a reply that is calm, professional, and constructive. One that serves your ultimate goals, rather than simply satisfying a momentary flash of anger. A painful memory is just like an angry email sent from your past. Your habit has been to open it and reply immediately with the angry, painful emotions of shame and self-blame. The practice now is to see that email arrive in your mental inbox and to pause, stop, breathe, soften, create the gap. Let the initial storm of the memory pass through you without acting on it. And then, from the calm space you have created, you can respond to that memory, not with the old pain, but with the new wisdom, compassion, and equanimity you possess today. This ability to pause, to find the space between the trigger and the reaction, is the culmination of your practice in a moment of crisis. It is the skill that ensures you will not be capsized, even by the largest waves from your past. It is the ultimate expression of your inner freedom. Having mastered this ability to handle the storms, we can now turn back and look at our past mistakes from a completely new and empowered perspective. We no longer have to fear them or just survive them. We can now begin to see them as something else entirely, a raw material for the creation of something precious. We are now ready to learn the sacred alchemy of turning our mistakes into medicine, with the skill to pause, to find the sacred gap between what happens to us and how we respond. We have learned to surf even the most powerful emotional waves from our past. We no longer need to live in fear of our own memories. This new stability and confidence allows us to approach our history not as a minefield to be carefully navigated, but as a garden to be cultivated, a place where even the most difficult soil can be coaxed into yielding something of profound value. This is the final and most beautiful stage in reframing our relationship with the past, the sacred alchemy of turning our mistakes into medicine. The alchemists of old sought to perform a magical transformation to turn worthless, heavy lead into shining, precious gold. While they never succeeded on a physical level, they gave us a perfect metaphor for the deepest potential of the human spirit. Spiritual alchemy is the art of taking the base and heavy metals of our own lives, our failures, our shame, our deepest regrets, our most profound suffering, and, through the crucible of our conscious awareness, transmuting them into the pure gold of wisdom, compassion, and unshakable inner strength. This is not about positive thinking. It is not about ignoring the darkness. It is about having the courage to walk directly into the darkness and discover that it is precisely there, in our deepest wounds, that our greatest treasures are hidden. In many wisdom traditions, there is a core understanding that the obstacle is the path. The poison, when understood correctly, contains the antidote. Every mistake you have ever made, every failure you have ever endured, contains a potent medicine, a specific lesson that you could not have learned in any other way. For years, you have viewed your mistakes as evidence of your inadequacy. The alchemical process invites you to look at them now as your most powerful teachers, the harsh but effective gurus who have shaped you into the person you are today. Let us engage in this alchemy now. Bring to mind, once again, a significant mistake from your past, one that has been a source of shame or guilt. But this time, we will not be trying to forgive it, or manage it, or even just be with it. We will be mining it for gold. We will ask it a different set of questions. First, let us look for the medicine of humility. Did this mistake shatter an illusion of your own perfection? Did it force you to confront your own arrogance, your own blind spots? Did it bring you to your knees? While deeply painful, this shattering of the ego is an invaluable gift. It breaks open the hard shell of our pride and allows us to become softer, more open, more teachable. How has the humility you learned from this mistake made you a kinder, more patient, or more understanding person today? See the gold. Next, let us look for the medicine of empathy, because you know the specific sting of this kind of failure, because you know intimately what this flavor of regret tastes like. Can you now feel a deeper, more authentic connection to other people who are struggling in the same way? When you see someone else make a similar mistake, is there now a part of you that understands, rather than just judges? Your personal pain, when transmuted, becomes the bridge of empathy that connects your heart to the hearts of all others. Your wound becomes a doorway to compassion. See the gold. Now, let us look for the medicine of strength. Did you believe, at the time, that this mistake would destroy you? Did it feel like the end of the world? And yet, here you are. You survived. You endured. Perhaps you hit the very bottom, and in doing so, you discovered that you had the strength to get back up. You learned that you are more resilient than you ever believed. This inner knowledge of your own resilience is a form of pure strength that can never be taken from you. See the gold. And finally, let us look for the medicine of clarity. Did this painful experience clarify what is truly important to you? By showing you so clearly what you are not, did it illuminate the kind of person you genuinely aspire to be? Sometimes, we only discover our true path by first wandering down a wrong one. Did this mistake, this detour, ultimately set you on a course that is more authentic, more aligned with your deepest values? This clarity is a precious compass for the rest of your life. See the gold. There is a beautiful Japanese art form called kintsugi, which perfectly embodies this alchemical principle. When a precious piece of pottery is broken, the kintsugi master does not try to hide the cracks or glue the pieces back together seamlessly to pretend the break never happened. Instead, the artisan meticulously rejoins the broken pieces using a special lacquer that is mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. The result is breathtaking. The lines of breakage, the history of the object's trauma, are not only visible, they are the most beautiful part of the piece. The cracks are highlighted with precious metal, transformed into golden rivers that tell a story of resilience and healing. A piece of kintsugi pottery is considered more beautiful, more valuable, and more profound because it was broken and has been lovingly restored. You, in your own being, are this piece of precious pottery. Life has inevitably dropped you. You have been cracked. You have been broken, both by the actions of others and by your own mistakes. For years, you have been trying to hide these cracks, feeling ashamed of your broken places. But now, you understand a deeper truth. The practices of compassion, of loving kindness, of forgiveness, are the golden lacquer. As you apply this loving awareness to your old wounds, you are not erasing them, you are transforming them. The lines of your past mistakes are not ugly scars to be hidden away. They are the golden seams of your own kintsugi heart. They are the proof of your journey, the testament to your resilience, the map of your own hard-won wisdom. They are what make you uniquely, profoundly, and exquisitely beautiful. You are more precious not in spite of your brokenness, but precisely because of it. With this final, transformative shift in perspective, The journey of forgiveness is complete. The heavy backpack you have been carrying, filled with the stones of your past regrets, has undergone a magical change. You open it now, and you find that the stones are no longer dull, heavy rocks. You have learned how to cut and polish them, and they are revealed to be precious gems. The stone of failure has been transmuted into the diamond of resilience. The stone of shame has become the deep sapphire of empathy. The stone of arrogance has become the clear crystal of humility. Your past is no longer a criminal record to be ashamed of. It has become a treasury of jewels, a library of wisdom that has forged you into the wise, compassionate, and beautiful being that you are in this very moment. The burden has, at last, become your treasure. And what happens when the poison has become medicine? When the cracks have become golden rivers? When the burden has become a treasure, the weight dissolves, the struggle ceases. The long war with yourself is finally over. And what is left in its place is a feeling that may be unfamiliar at first, a feeling of profound and simple lightness. Having transmuted the lead of the past, we are now free to soar, to experience the effortless joy of a truly forgiving heart. We have come to the beautiful shore at the end of a long and sometimes arduous journey. We began in the dark, tossing and turning, chained by the ghosts of our past. We felt the immense, crushing weight of a backpack filled with the stones of our regrets, a burden we believed we were sentenced to carry for a lifetime. We have walked a long path since then. We have faced the illusions of the mind. We have embraced the wisdom of the heart, and we have learned the sacred alchemy of turning our deepest wounds into our greatest strengths. And now we stand here, at this place of arrival, and we can finally, gently, unbuckle the straps. We can let that heavy backpack slide from our shoulders and fall to the ground with a thud that echoes through all the years of our past. And in its absence, we feel something new, something we may have long forgotten. We feel a profound and unmistakable lightness of being. Take a moment to truly feel this. This is not just an idea, it is a somatic reality, a physical experience. For years, your body has been unconsciously organized around carrying that weight. Your shoulders were perpetually hunched, your spine compressed, your muscles locked in a state of chronic tension. Your breath was shallow, constrained by the constant pressure. Now, feel what happens as you stand upright for the first time without that load. Feel the muscles in your shoulders and back begin to release a tension they have held for decades. Feel the new space that opens in your chest, an invitation for your lungs to take their first truly deep, full, unrestricted breath. It might feel strange, almost unnerving, like the feeling of stepping onto solid land after a long voyage at sea. This is the feeling of your body's own liberation. It is the physical sensation of a forgiving heart. With this unburdening comes an incredible liberation of energy. Think of how much of your life force, your precious, finite psychic energy, was consumed by the old state of being. It was like running a powerful computer with dozens of resource-heavy programs operating in the background, slowing everything to a crawl. There was the regret program, constantly replaying old mistakes. There was the inner critic program, providing a relentless negative commentary. There was the resentment program, tracking old hurts and grievances. There was the anxiety program, constantly scanning the future for potential threats based on past failures. These programs consumed the vast majority of your energy, leaving you feeling drained, depleted, and uninspired. Now, one by one, you have closed these programs down. You have seen through their illusions and retired them from service. And all of that energy, all of that processing power is now returned to you. This is an immense dividend of vitality, and you can now invest it in the act of living, fully and freely, in the present moment. You now have the energy to be truly present with a loved one, to listen to them with your whole being, without the distracting background noise of your own inner turmoil. You have the energy to engage with your work from a place of creativity and inspiration, because your inner channels are no longer clogged with the sludge of the past. You have the energy to simply sit and appreciate the beauty of a sunset, to savor the taste of your food, to feel the joy of a simple walk. The world, which you had been viewing through the grey, dusty filter of your own guilt, suddenly appears in high definition. The colors are brighter, the sounds are clearer, the textures are richer. Life itself has not changed, but your capacity to experience it has been fundamentally transformed. You are no longer living in a story about the past. You are living in the vibrant, immediate reality of now. This new state is characterized by a deep and quiet joy. It is important to understand the nature of this joy. It is not the loud, manic, and fleeting high that comes from external achievements or sensory pleasures. That kind of happiness is built on a shaky foundation, dependent on getting what you want and avoiding what you don't. The joy of a forgiving heart is different. It is a quiet, steady, and unconditional wellspring that bubbles up from within. It is the calm, luminous peace of a deep lake at dawn, not the crashing excitement of the ocean in a storm. It is a sense of profound rightness with yourself, a feeling of being finally, peacefully, at home in your own skin. This joy is accompanied by a new kind of confidence, a confidence that is resilient and unshakable because it is not based on the impossible ideal of perfection. Our old model of confidence was fragile. It was dependent on getting everything right, on maintaining a flawless record, on never failing. It was a state of constant anxiety, always fearing the next mistake that would shatter our carefully constructed image. The new confidence that arises from a forgiving heart is born from the radical, courageous acceptance of your own imperfection. You are now confident, not because you believe you will never fall again, but because you know with absolute certainty that if you do fall, you possess the wisdom and compassion to get back up, to mend your own wounds, to learn the lesson, and to continue your journey. Your confidence is no longer in your ability to avoid injury. It is in your proven ability to heal. This is the end of the exhausting project of trying to become a worthy person. For so much of our lives, we are driven by a subtle feeling that we are not quite good enough as we are, that we must strive and struggle to become someone better, someone more perfect, someone who is finally deserving of love and peace. This project is the source of all our inner wars. The lightness of being emerges in the moment you lay down this project for good. You are not trying to become worthy. You awaken to the truth that your worthiness was never in question. It is inherent. It is unconditional. You are worthy of love, not when you are perfect, but precisely as you are, with your entire beautiful history, with all of your magnificent golden kintsugi cracks. I invite you to feel into this state right now. Can you feel the space in your shoulders where the heavy backpack used to rest? Can you taste the clean air of a mind that is not polluted by self-attack? Can you feel the quiet strength of a heart that is no longer at war with its own past? Can you allow yourself just for this moment to rest in the simple, uncomplicated joy of your own existence? You have done the work. You have faced the shadows. You have come home to yourself. Rest here. Savor this peace. This is the fruit of your practice. This is the grace of a forgiving heart. This newfound lightness is not a fleeting peak experience that you must struggle to hold on to. As you continue to live mindfully, to meet your own imperfections with kindness, this state of being becomes your new baseline, your new center of gravity. The underlying climate of your inner world has shifted from a harsh and unforgiving winter to a gentle and spacious spring. And when a human heart is this full, this at peace with itself, it cannot contain its own light. Like a cup filled to the very brim, it naturally begins to overflow. The peace you have so diligently cultivated for yourself ceases to be a personal possession. It naturally and effortlessly begins to radiate outward becoming a silent, healing gift to everyone and everything you touch. Our journey, which began as a quest for our own freedom, now reaches its beautiful and selfless culmination, the realization that our own inner peace is our greatest possible offering to the world. We arrive now at the final vista of our long journey together. We have traveled from the claustrophobic prison of self-recrimination to the expansive lightness of a forgiving heart. We have performed the sacred alchemy of turning the lead of our past into the gold of wisdom. And here, standing on this high peak of self-acceptance, we discover the most beautiful and surprising truth of all. The journey was never just about us. The peace we have so diligently cultivated for ourselves is not a private treasure to be hoarded. It is a light that, by its very nature, is meant to be shared. A heart that is truly at peace with itself becomes, without any effort, a source of peace for the world. Think of a cup that is filled to the very brim with clear, cool water. If you add even one more drop, it will naturally, effortlessly overflow. Your heart, having been emptied of the poison of guilt and filled with the nectar of self-compassion, is now this full cup. The kindness and peace you have cultivated are not things you need to consciously project or do. They simply overflow. They become the very quality of your presence, the atmosphere that surrounds you, the silent music that emanates from your being. You have moved beyond the difficult work of becoming peaceful. You now simply are peace. And this state of being is a powerful, active force in the world. Consider how this inner transformation radiates outward and touches the lives of those around you. Think of your relationships with your family and loved ones. Before, when your inner world was a place of turmoil, that stress inevitably leaked out. Perhaps it manifested as impatience, as irritability, as emotional distance, or as a neediness for constant reassurance. You were unable to be a true source of comfort for others because you were so desperately in need of it yourself. Now, with a deep reservoir of inner peace and self-acceptance, you have more to offer. You can listen more deeply because you are not constantly being distracted by the chatter of your own inner critic. You can offer comfort more freely because you are not afraid of another's pain triggering your own unresolved wounds. You become a source of quiet strength and stability for your family, a calm harbor in their own inevitable storms. Your presence becomes a silent permission for them to be at peace as well. Think of your interactions with colleagues, acquaintances, and even strangers. Before, when your self-worth was fragile and based on a need to be perfect, you may have been defensive, competitive, or quick to find fault in others as a way to bolster your own ego. Every interaction was a potential threat or a competition. Now, with a confidence born not of perfection, but of profound self-acceptance, you are no longer so easily threatened. You can celebrate a colleague's success without feeling diminished. You can receive criticism without it shattering your sense of self. When you encounter a rude clerk or an angry driver, your first reaction is no longer a surge of personal offense and reactive anger. Instead, a space opens up, a space of wisdom, and you see not an enemy, but a fellow human being in the grip of their own dukkha, their own suffering. You may not say a word, but your own inner non-reactivity is a silent offering of peace into a situation filled with stress. You come to realize that the greatest gift you can ever offer another human being is not your advice, your money, or even your help. It is the quality of your presence. To be able to sit with another person in their joy or their sorrow, without judgment, without needing to fix them, without being overwhelmed by them, and to simply offer them the spacious, accepting sanctuary of your own peaceful presence is a profound act of healing. You become a walking refuge for others because you have first built that refuge within yourself. On a larger scale, this personal journey is the most fundamental form of peace work there is. Look at the world with all its conflict, its violence, its injustice, and its cruelty. Where does it all begin? It begins in the hearts of individual human beings who are at war with themselves. A person who is consumed by self-hatred cannot radiate love. A person who is tormented by inner demons will inevitably project those demons onto an external enemy. A person who feels fundamentally worthless will be driven by a desperate and often destructive need for power or validation. All of the world's suffering is the large-scale, external manifestation of countless individual hearts that have not found the path to forgiveness and peace. Therefore, the act of ending the war within your own heart is not a selfish or small endeavor. It is a revolutionary act with global implications. Every time you choose compassion over self-judgment, you are removing one unit of violence from the world. Every time you choose to forgive instead of holding a grudge, you are removing one unit of hatred from the collective consciousness. Every time you find the courage to heal your own trauma, you are breaking a chain of suffering that might otherwise have been passed down for generations. You are healing the world from the inside out. The long, personal, and sometimes lonely journey to forgive yourself, which may have started as a desperate attempt to end your own private suffering, is revealed in the end to be a profound and selfless act of service to all of humanity. There is a timeless metaphor for this process. Imagine a vast, dark chamber representing the world. You are a single, unlit candle. Through your long journey of practice, you have finally found a way to ignite your own wick. You now burn with a steady, warm, and gentle flame. This is your hard-won inner peace. Now, imagine that other unlit candles are brought to you. As you touch your flame to their wicks, they too burst into light. And here is the miracle. In sharing your flame, in lighting another, your own light is not diminished in the slightest. In fact, the total amount of light in the room increases. Your peace, when shared, does not deplete you. It multiplies. The more you offer the warmth of your presence to others, the brighter the world becomes. This is the beautiful culmination of our path. We have come from the darkness into the light, and we have realized that our purpose now is simply to shine. The journey inward and the journey outward have revealed themselves to be one and the same path. By healing ourselves, we begin to heal the world. Our own forgiving heart becomes our greatest gift, our most sacred offering. We have followed the path from the singular pain of our personal suffering to the universal offering of our peace. All that remains now is to gather the threads of this entire journey, to summarize its essential wisdom, and to empower ourselves to carry this light forward with courage and with grace into every remaining moment of our lives. And so, our long journey through the landscapes of the heart comes to a gentle close. We began in the quiet darkness, feeling the weight of unseen chains, haunted by the echoes of a past we could not change. We walked a path together, from the initial pain of seeing our burdens, through the clear wisdom of acceptance and impermanence. We learned to sit with our own suffering, to befriend the critical voices within, and to rewrite the stories that had kept us imprisoned for so long. We turned our gaze outward, seeing our own humanity reflected in the lives of others, and found the strength to forgive not only ourselves, but those who had caused us pain. Finally, we learned the sacred alchemy of turning our deepest wounds into our most precious wisdom, allowing the lightness of a forgiving heart to become our new reality, a light that naturally radiates outward as a gift to the world. Let the essence of this journey settle into your heart now. The profound peace you seek was never found in the pursuit of perfection. It was not waiting for you at the end of a long and arduous path of becoming someone better, someone flawless, someone without a past. That was the great illusion that fueled the struggle. The peace we have discovered is far more tender, more accessible, and more profound. It was found in the simple, courageous act of turning towards ourselves, exactly as we are, and offering an unconditional embrace. It is the peace that comes from accepting our beautiful, flawed, and resilient humanity, Forgiveness, you have now learned, is not a destination you arrive at once and for all. It is a practice. It is a way of life. It is the continuous, moment-to-moment choice to meet your own imperfections with kindness. It is the gentle act of returning, again and again, to the safe and loving home you have built within your own heart. You now have the tools. You have seen the path. The key to your own liberation is, and has always been, in your own hands, in your own heart. You are the mountain, unshaken by the weather of your own mind. You are the sky, unstained by the clouds of your past. You are the kintsugi master, who has transformed your own broken places into lines of shimmering gold. The war is over. The work of this journey is done. All that is left is to rest. To rest in the peace you have earned. To rest in the wholeness you have discovered. To sleep now, cradled in the gentle, boundless, and loving embrace of your own compassion.